Chapter 584. The only people left in the room were Gu Qingshan and the other aristocratic ladies. The ladies were silently observing Gu Qingshan. This young man is so good-looking, they silently thought. Indeed, Gu Qingshan's appearance wasn't bad to begin with, not to mention that he had gone through so many years of hardship and bloodshed. His entire body exuded a faint sense of age and maturity that miraculously clashed with his youthful appearance. He had a unique air about him. More importantly, he was brought here by that esteemed lady herself. That lady very rarely spoke up for anyone. The noble ladies winked at each other. A noblewoman with exquisite makeup silently turned her wrist, waving the emerald ring on her slender finger at Gu Qingshan. The emerald gave off an almost undetectable vibration. A message came from the emerald and was quickly transmitted to the girl's mind. This life form has existed for less than 20 years, rough estimate to be around level 35, profession. Swordsman. The girl opened her mouth in surprise. Level 35 was the standard for strength in the girl's world. This was a dividing line. At this level, a swordsman can already summon elemental spirits and practice advanced elemental swordsmanship. As the girl looked at Gu Qingshan, a lot of thoughts started to form in her mind. He's so young, but he's already reached level 35. Even in her world, such a person would be considered a top-level genius. And she came from a certain world in the strife zones. It was an incredibly powerful world. From another perspective, using the standard of a cultivation world, it was very rare for such a young sainted realm cultivator to appear. Although Gu Qingshan came from a scattered world, he never stopped cultivating. His talents were already quite good. In the past life, he only entered the cultivation world after spending half a year of his life, so his starting point was much lower than most people. His path was also much harder than everyone else's. But in this life, no matter how powerful a world he was in, he wasn't much weaker than his peers at the same age. The girl didn't know any of this, but in her mind, a level 35 swordsman who wasn't even 20 years old was definitely worth befriending. This person was more than qualified to be her friend. Besides, he was quite good-looking. Thinking until here, the noble lady smiled and said to Gu Qingshan, "Hello, may I ask where are you from?" "Ah, hello, I come from a distant scattered world," Gu Qingshan said in a friendly manner. The smile on the noble lady's face froze. She was speechless. Scattered worlds. It was the symbol of primitive and barbaric. That kind of place would always bear the fate of being destroyed in the blink of an eye, and would never be able to accumulate the weight and height of civilization. The noble lady sighed, feeling very disappointed. Actually, even if it was a poor boy and a noble lady, it was still an acceptable romantic story. However, the person in front of him came from a scattered world and couldn't even be considered a poor kid. It was tiring to deal with this kind of people who came from uncivilized places because they wouldn't understand anything you said. The two sides were not on the same level. He continued thinking, in fact, this person must have paid a high price to invite that noble lady. He himself had no deep connection with the lady, because he was just a person from a scattered world. So even if he was a level 35 person, he was still nothing but a barbarian. His short-sighted vision and poor knowledge would greatly limit his future development. Thinking that, the noble lady backed down. After listening to the conversation between the two, the other noble ladies also exchanged glances with each other. They quickly reached an agreement. "Excuse us, we have something to take care of," they said. "Go ahead," Gu Qingshan replied. The noble ladies stood up, bowed to Gu Qingshan and left the green room. Their laughter could be heard from the corridor. "What are you laughing at?" the girl who talked to Gu Qingshan angrily asked. "Ah ha ha ha, a scattered world, you're also—" The noble ladies laughed even louder. This laughter seemed to be directed at the girl, but it also didn't seem to be. The door closed. The laughter slowly faded away. There was no one else around. The only person left in the room was Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan had already noticed the other party's intention and reaction. He didn't mind and instead calmed down. Everything was more or less settled. This was a rare moment of rest. He wasn't in a hurry to look at the War God quest, so he looked at the 20-layer cream cake on the table. The cake was decorated with all kinds of rare fruit. It looked good and had a faint fragrance. It didn't make people feel that it was too sweet. Gu Qingshan looked at another corner of the table. Inside the large ice bucket, various alcoholic beverages were still chilled. Gu Qingshan randomly picked out a black bottle of alcohol, cut a slice of cake, and sat down comfortably. I wonder how other people feel after a long journey. Gu Qingshan traveled through hundreds of millions of world layers without stopping, doing a lot of things, so he was feeling a bit tired. Since Su Share is going to be fine, and the system's quest is done, let's rest for a bit. With a light click, the black bottle was opened. A wondrous aroma of alcohol wafted out. Gu Qingshan took a deep breath. This type of alcohol wasn't inferior to his masterpieces at all. Gu Qingshan didn't bother looking for a glass, and simply took a swig from the bottle. Not even using a glass. Your manners are a bit rude, a female voice suddenly called out. Gu Qingshan was shocked and spat out the alcohol in his mouth. Cough, 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 cough. While coughing, he looked in front of him, only to see a young girl in a maid outfit standing in front of him, spitting out the alcohol in his mouth. Gu Qingshan was very surprised. How strange, when I spread out my inner sight, I couldn't sense anything. Where did this young girl come from? Sorry, I didn't mean to. Gu Qingshan quickly apologized. The young girl had never been in such a situation before, so she seemed to be very frightened. But she was trying her best not to scream out loud. Her body was trembling as if she was going to faint at any moment. But she gritted her teeth and didn't faint. The young girl spoke with a calm and restrained tone. Your saliva, food residue, as well as the alcohol you've drunk are all on my face. I've never been in such a situation before, so I'd like to ask you, how can I escape from this embarrassing situation without being rude? Gu Qingshan regained her senses, formed a hand seal to cleanse her body, and infused it with spirit energy. In just a few moments, all the foreign substances on the young girl's face disappeared without a trace. Gu Qingshan then guided some spirit spring water to help the young girl clean herself again. It's fine now, I'm really sorry about what happened just now, Gu Qingshan said apologetically. The young girl held her face and carefully touched it. After a while, her body finally stopped trembling. She took a deep breath, then lightly bowed to Gu Qingshan and said, I hate your actions from before, so please don't expect me to talk to you again. She angrily walked to one side, took out a knife and fork, then cut off a small piece of cake from the 20-layer cake and gracefully ate it. She seemed so hungry that she only needed a few bites to finish the cake. After the girl finished, she hesitated a bit, then cut off another piece of cake and continued eating. Seeing that she really didn't care about him, Gu Qingshan couldn't think of anything else to do. He's never been in such a situation before. There are all sorts of strange things in the 900 million world layers. Who says that my inner sight will definitely be able to detect the other party? Not to mention, this is the Bramblebird Royal Green Room, so this young girl must have a deep relationship with the Bramblebirds to be allowed in here. Gu Qingshan has a favor to ask of the Bramblebirds, so he shouldn't act rashly on their turf. Since he already apologized, and the other party has already decided to ignore him, there's no need to provoke them again. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan silently nodded. But after going through this, he wasn't in the mood to eat or drink anymore. He looked at the War God UI. Lines of glowing text were silently floating on the War God UI. Your mission has been completed, please hold Triest's medal in your hand without touching it. Gu Qingshan took out the silver medal and held it in his hand. On the medal, Triest suddenly uttered a silent scream. She disappeared. Following that, new lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. Communication channel has been connected. attempting to activate new war god functions. Activation process will take a few minutes. Please do not let the medal leave your hand. Gu Qingshan held the medal and silently waited. Dong. The door to the green room was suddenly pushed open. My apologies, we're currently searching for a royal family treasure. A few fully armed guards walked in and said apologetically. They looked at Gu Qingshan, then at the medal in Gu Qingshan's hand. Their attitude was very polite. Please go ahead, Gu Qingshan replied. A few guards began to search the room. As Gu Qingshan stared at their actions, he felt a bit suspicious. These guards said they were searching for a treasure, but they weren't rummaging through the room at all. Instead, they were walking around the room with a scepter in hand. From the looks of it, they were trying to sense something. Wait a minute. Aside from the guards, why am I the only one in the room? Gu Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. He looked around the room, even releasing his inner sight to search around. Where's the little girl from just now? How did she disappear without a trace? In theory, even ghosts wouldn't be able to hide from the search of inner sight. But the little girl really did disappear without a trace. When she appeared just now, Gu Qingshan didn't notice at all. From the looks of it, these guards don't seem to know anything about this at all. That was a strange thing indeed. Gu Qingshan's thoughts quickly turned, but his expression remained silent. A few moments later, the guards finished their search and walked towards Gu Qingshan. My apologies, we were only doing our job, the leader of the guards said apologetically. Gu Qingshan looked at him, then at the expressions of the other guards. They were all very calm. Seems like they also knew that this kind of search wouldn't yield any result. It's fine, you didn't affect me at all, Gu Qingshan smiled. The guards nodded to him, turned to leave, and even helped him close the door. The only person left in the room was Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes. This isn't right. If the little girl was also a guest, the Bramble Bird guards wouldn't have only apologized to him. They scrupulously abided by etiquette and would definitely apologize to every guest. In other words, the Bramble Bird guards didn't know about the little girl's existence. Gu Qingshan opened his eyes. He immediately saw the little girl. As soon as the guards left, she appeared again. The little girl sighed deeply, sounding very tired. As if she had done something just now, and it was too much for her to bear. Their gazes met. I'm very sorry, I have to go into hiding for a bit. Please don't tell the guards that I'm here, the little girl said. Who exactly are you? Gu Qingshan asked. I am Her Highness the Princess Maid. After the princess went missing, I had no choice but to escape. The princess went missing? Gu Qingshan was surprised. Today was supposed to be the Bramble Bird Princess' 12th birthday and coming-of-age ceremony. Why did she go missing? The little girl answered dejectedly. That's right, the royal family felt that us maids didn't take good care of the princess and caused her to go missing, so they decided to kill me. So that's why. Gu Qingshan appeared surprised, but the doubt in his mind only grew stronger. What kind of female servant was it that even the guards of the imperial family were unable to detect her presence? Gu Qingshan's thoughts quickly turned. Recalling his journey here just now, he was very sure that the royal green room was protected by a powerful and strict force. But such a force still couldn't find the little girl. If the little girl had been here from the very beginning, even the Light of Dawn Triest couldn't notice her existence. The noble wooden beauty, the big rooster, as well as the 7 to 8 young ladies from different worlds didn't notice her existence at all. In other words, she managed to fool everyone. She only showed herself in front of him. No one else knew about this. Chapter 585. The little girl stood in front of Gu Qingshan, a bit nervous. Seeing her like that, Gu Qingshan decided to ask her directly. If you've been hiding from everyone, why did you only show yourself in front of me? Hearing him ask that, the little girl raised a newspaper. On the front page of the newspaper, there was a picture of the news. An old man was hugging Bali's leg, while Gu Qingshan was standing on one side, staring at the old man in shock. Indeed, this was the same newspaper that Su Cher saw. That's why Su Cher was waiting for him in a bowl. The little girl raised the newspaper and looked at Gu Qingshan. No matter what, a person that Iron Fist Bali approves of, at least their character wouldn't be an issue, she thought for a bit, then added. Although he's been crippled for a long time and owes a lot of money for the past 1,000 years, he's never changed his standards and beliefs, so you trust him? Mother once said, if a person can enjoy the best and endure the worst, and their beliefs and actions aren't changed by the outside world, then they're their own hero. You have a wise mother. Hearing that, the little girl showed a sorrowful expression. But she quickly composed herself and said, the Iron Fist Club hasn't accepted anyone for over 1,000 years, and since you're recognized by Bali and Meow, you wouldn't do such a despicable thing. Despicable thing? What do you mean? Exposing a pitiful little maid and sending her on a path to her death. Thank you for your trust, but I really don't want to meddle. Gu Qingshan slowly calmed down. He silently observed the little girl. She had a normal appearance, a pair of small hands full of calluses, a tired expression, even her maid uniform was a bit dirty. But she didn't seem to be more than 10 years old. Gu Qingshan squinted his eyes and carefully observed her. The little girl's hands were full of calluses, her skin wasn't just dark, but also had a few ugly scars. But in the depths of her sleeves, skin as white as milk could be seen. Gu Qingshan immediately understood. This little girl actually knew how to disguise herself to hide her identity. You became a maid at such a young age? Gu Qingshan asked with a serious expression. Her Highness needs a playmate of the same age. She needs someone to accompany her at all times and respond to her command. That's why I was chosen to be her maid, the little girl said pitifully. Gu Qingshan nodded. This excuse was passable. The Bramble-Bird Princess had only just turned 12, so she needed a few people around her age. A maid of this age could be either a playmate or a servant. She was indeed very suitable. It seemed that she was a smart girl, but she had too little social experience. The little girl looked at Gu Qingshan and said in a condescending tone, since you won't expose me hiding here, I'll forgive your rude behavior just now. Gu Qingshan was speechless. He was not going to argue with a little girl who ran away. In his mind, he had a few guesses. As long as these guesses are verified, it'll be easy to reach a clear conclusion. But Gu Qingshan really didn't want to get involved in any of this, because even if he closed his eyes, he could already tell how heavy and dangerous those things were. And he only wanted to wait for Su Cher. As soon as Su Cher returns, he'll immediately take her away. Although the Justice Iron Fist Club wasn't too big, both Bali and Meow were decent people, so they should be able to get along well with Su Cher. The Justice Iron Fist Club itself was a super-dimensional world, so it was very safe. Meow's spatial abilities were also quite impressive. Combined with the fact that Bali's leg was still recovering, it won't be long before Bali Iron Fist returns to the ranks of top-tier combatants. Trieste also gave him a lot of rewards, which he could use to pay off the club's debt. This way, his life would be much more stable. He and Su Cher would be able to spend a lot of time together. While staying at the Justice Iron Fist Club, he could also ask Bali about some cultivation problems. At most, he'll just have to make some good food to reward Bali. According to Meow, there's a stream behind the club. When the weather is good, they can even go fishing there. But those fish are all very sly. As soon as they notice someone approaching, they'll warp to another world. Bali doesn't like catching fish, while Meow doesn't know how to cook fish, so they rarely get to eat those fish. But the quality of those fish is the best, so there are often star-rated restaurants willing to buy them. As Gu Qingshan thought about it, his gaze softened. That's right, why should I get involved in anything else? The only thing worth doing is to wait for Su Cher's return. Having made up his mind, Gu Qingshan looked at the little girl and said, From now on, I'll pretend I never saw you, and I won't tell anyone about this. Do as you please. The little girl smiled happily and curtsied. Although you're a crude person, you're not a bad person. The little girl observed Gu Qingshan. Seeing that he didn't mind at all, she calmed down a bit. It was now that she realized she was still hungry, so she picked up a plate of cake and gracefully ate it. Gu Qingshan no longer paid attention to the little girl. Because the silver seal in his hand was becoming a bit hot, and the war god Yui had also changed. Gu Qingshan quickly looked at the war god Yui. At the very bottom of the UI, after war god skills, war god thaumaturgy, and war god title, a new icon was lit up. This icon was very simple, almost like a thick book. Time node confirmed, the relevant keys have been obtained. A new function of the system has been activated. You've obtained a new function, Doomsday Chronicles. Doomsday Chronicles. You can now use a unique item in your hand to look up any famous historical events related to it. Because you only lived until 10 years into the future in the past life, you can only look up any historical events related to the next 10 years of the past. The special note: the system has only recorded a few extremely famous historical events. The system doesn't know the truth behind the entire event. After seriously reading through it, Gu Qingshan smiled in surprise. That was an interesting feature. Right now, Tree's seal in his hand was showing a few lines of text on the UI. Tree's seal, War God Skills. This item does not contain any skills, unable to be learned or learned. Doomsday Chronicles. It proves that you participated in this time's Call of the Bramble Birds. To look up the historical events related to Tree's seal, please pay 100,000 soul points. That much soul points? Gu Qingshan looked at the seal in shock. Just what kind of shocking secret is this seal hiding? Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then suddenly waved his hand and took out the Chao Yin sword from the void of space. He wanted to test out the new function a bit more. A few more lines of text appeared on the war god UI. An ancient sword, named Chao Yin. In the age of old, Shen Wu world was an endless ocean. When the divinities left, they forged this sword to rule over the 4 seas. The wielder of this sword is the king of the seas. This sword has a weapon spirit thaumaturgy. Even a sea of bitterness can pass. War god skills. This sword does not contain any skills, unable to be learned or learned. Doomsday Chronicles. The system did not find any famous historical events related to this sword. Gu Qingshan slightly nodded. Indeed, if I hadn't entered Shen Wu world in this life, this sword probably wouldn't have been born. This was an interesting new feature. This function can help me broaden my horizons and learn more secrets. Thinking that, Gu Qingshan tapped his inventory bag, wanting to take out more things to test out this new function of the war god UI. But as soon as he opened the storage pouch, a letter immediately flew out and circled around him. Gu Qingshan was surprised and quickly caught the letter in his hand. This letter had already appeared once before, but he was busy asking the wooden woman for help, so he didn't have time to read it. Now's the perfect time to see what it is. Gu Qingshan opened the letter. A blank piece of paper. There was nothing on it. But very quickly, a hurried female voice came from the paper. Gu Qingshan, it's Meow. Chapter 586. The 900 million outer world layers. Super-dimensional zones. A screen of light appeared. Bali and Meow appeared on a crowded street. This was Sun City, a super-dimensional world close to the club. The two of them were hurrying on their way. How much longer do we need? Bali asked. Meow tried to persuade him. Bro, don't worry, with just the two of us we won't be able to fight against the true demon army. That brat Gu Qingshan probably won't be able to hold on, we need to hurry. So how much longer do we need? Bali asked again. We need to contact a few trustworthy friends and get to a bull together. The entire process will take at least 1.5 days, Meow replied. Damn it, my leg. Your leg is already recovering very quickly. We can only travel through super-dimensional worlds. Don't think of anything else, Meow sternly told him. Compared to other worlds, super-dimensional worlds were the safest. Furthermore, with Meow's spatial abilities, she could also return to the club directly from other super-dimensional worlds. For Bali's safety, it would be best for them to travel through super-dimensional worlds. As little Meow said this, it suddenly noticed something. She suddenly took out a piece of paper. Oh! A wisp of flame appeared on the letter. The entire paper was slowly burned away. Meow's ears drooped down with a sorrowful expression on her face. Bali lowered his voice and asked, "Is this the token of a bull's guardian?" "That's right, just like me. He likes to write things, unfortunately, even though he's very strong. His novels are terrible, so I've always laughed at him." Saying so, Meow couldn't help but shake her head. The destruction of the token meant that the person was no longer in this world. Barley sighed as he looked at the letter that was gradually burning. A bull's guardian was directly destroyed. Seems like the demons have begun to act. "Did you contact him?" he asked. "I've already sent him a message, but he probably didn't receive it," Meow replied. "I know this person, but it's strange. He should be quite strong. Why was he killed so easily?" Bali became vigilant. He muttered, "If the demon army really came to attack, he would definitely do his best to deal with it and cause a huge commotion." Meow continued. "The surrounding worlds will definitely be alerted, and many experts will go to help. Yes, the Guardian of the Spire will also issue a warning at the first instance." The two of them shut their mouths and looked around. The crowd was still very lively, and no one showed panic on their faces. At this time, someone walked past them, holding a newspaper from the Spire Keeper Association. The two of them immediately followed. They skimmed through the newspaper in a few glances and then stopped. "If there was news of a bull, it would be the headline, but there's no news of him today," Meow said. Bali fell silent. He gradually tightened his grip on the steel gloves on his hands. "Brother?" Meow asked worriedly. "I'm fine, but it looks like someone else has defected to the fiendish demons," Bali said. Meow sighed, unable to speak. Only when the guardian of a bull is in a defenseless state can they be silently dealt with. Who can make him defenseless? Only those who are trustworthy, Bali said. "We need to hurry." The two of them sped up. A bull hotel. Inside the royal green room, Gu Shan also had a letter in her hand. Meow's voice came from the letter. "An extremely terrifying danger will soon appear in a bull. You won't be able to go against it with your current strength. No, not even the entirety of a bull or the thousands of world layers around it will be able to go against it. I'm guessing that it's the demon's scheme. A bull will definitely fall." Meow's voice sounded very hurried. "Shan, as soon as you get your girlfriend, please use the void string to return to the club. Only super-dimensional worlds are safe. I've reinforced the void string and doubled its power. You can easily bring 3 to 5 people back with you. Remember, do not stay for too long." After a moment of hesitation, little Meow said something else. "If you can't make it back in time, please find a safe place and wait for us. My brother's wounds will take 2 days to heal. After 2 days, we will definitely come to save you and your girlfriend." Hearing that, Gu Shan's heart slowly sank. Indeed, at this critical moment, Bali and Meow were indeed trustworthy people. But they won't make it in time. A bull is about to undergo a drastic change. The demons are coming. Gu Shan didn't know how Meow found out about this, but he knew that Meow wasn't the type of person to speak carelessly. And Meow wouldn't write such a letter just to make a joke. The situation really isn't right. Gu Shan suddenly felt anxious. When will Su Cher be able to leave Tree's world? And the most frustrating thing is that I can't even get in. What should I do to quickly bring Su Cher away? As calm and collected as he was, holding Meow's letter in his hand, he couldn't come up with a solution, no matter how hard he tried. While he was thinking, a voice came from next to him. "Hello." Gu Shan was shocked. When he looked up, the little maid had once again appeared in front of him without him noticing. She really did come without a sound. His inner sight couldn't detect her at all. This sudden appearance caused Gu Shan, as a cultivator, to be extremely cautious. Although he can also use shadow shift and ground shrink, he still felt a lot of pressure when someone else did that. That was Meow's voice just now. Pardon me for asking, but you didn't know what was going to happen in a bowl before? The little maid cautiously asked. I did, I just found out, Gu Qingshan answered. Seeing him openly admit it, the little maid's gaze became a bit different. She muttered in a low voice, Meow, huh? No matter what, Bali and her are both well-known people. Mother also said that they're one of the very few people that can be trusted. Gu Qingshan heard that, but didn't say anything. He was too worried right now to think of a way to get Su Cher back, so he didn't have time to say anything to the little maid. At this time, a new notification appeared on the War God UI. Glancing over it, Gu Qingshan understood that the system was reading the letter in his hand. Lines of glowing text appeared on the UI. Item name: Justice Iron Fist Club's letter War God Skills. This is a universal emergency letter. It doesn't contain any skills that can be learned. Chronological event description. The person who wrote this letter has discovered a shocking truth. She has found out about a famous historical event. You can use both this letter and Triest seal at the same time to reduce the soul points cost to find out about this event. Would you like to spend 10,000 soul points to check this historical event? Gu Qingshan was surprised. Using Triest seal to check the relevant historical event required 100,000 soul points. But with Meow's letter, the cost was quickly reduced to 10,000 soul points. Seems like Meow wasn't wrong, the demons are coming. Gu Qingshan didn't hesitate to spend 10,000 soul points. Since the danger has already appeared, the most important thing right now is information. He needs information. A few more lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. You've exchanged for the corresponding Doomsday Chronicles event. The specific information of this event came from the headlines of the past life. Wait a minute. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, why headlines? If it's a historical event, you can tell me everything about it right away. Ting! The system replied. Because I didn't experience it myself, the system can't determine the exact details of the event. The system can only show you information related to the historical event. Following the system's explanation, a newspaper from the Spire Keeper Association appeared on the UI. Looking at the date, this is tomorrow's newspaper, which means this event will erupt between today and tomorrow. Sure enough, the Doomsday Chronicles can only show well-known historical events. It doesn't contain any hidden information. Gu Qingshan shook his head and looked at the headline of the newspaper. 2 lines of text from the Spire Keeper Association appeared. The Demon King Order has reappeared. Chapter 587. Reading this title, Gu Qingshan's blood almost froze. In truth, ever since his return, he had been thinking about what happened in the past life. Because there were too many suspicious points. After going through so many worlds, Gu Qingshan had realized a certain truth. A world's apocalypse online, it forcefully destroyed humanity's path to becoming stronger against the demons. In the past life, humanity's final destruction was all because of this game. At the most crucial moment of the war, no one could stand up and lead humanity against the demon lords. Because no one could break through to Sainted Realm. The amount of EXP required was too much, humanity couldn't possibly do it. Facing the approaching apocalypse, this feeling of helplessness caused everyone to feel despair. But then, why was it called the Demon King Order? And what is kindling? Gu Qingshan held his breath and continued reading. Apparently to be released as soon as possible, there wasn't a lot of content in the emergency news. Triest has defected to the demon's side. The flames of war have been ignited, the 900 million world layers allied army is regrouping, the second full-scale war is about to begin. We have confirmed that the Light of Dawn Triest brought a world's apocalypse online is kindling from the fallen zones, hid it in her personal world, then used the call of the bramblebirds to sneak into a bull. The Demon King Order is spreading across a bull. Once world's apocalypse online spreads, a large number of world layers will fall into the demon's hands. We cannot allow kindling. To gain power, we cannot allow the Demon King order to level up. All Lord-class combatants, please join the battle to fight against it. I repeat, everyone, please raise your weapons and fight against the apocalypses. Kindling. The news ended here. Gu Qingshan stared at the newspaper on the war god Ui, speechless. He read the news again and again. So the so-called call of the bramble birds was actually Triest's scheme. World's apocalypse online's kindling was hidden in Triest's personal world. Gu Qingshan sighed. The card of divination wasn't wrong, I was so close to entering that world. If I went in, including myself, everyone would have become demonized. It was Su Sher who noticed the ominous signs. She was the one who had stopped him from entering from the beginning. But she had entered that world. Gu Qingshan abruptly stood up and paced back and forth in the room. Think of a way. Something had to be done immediately. Can I expose Triest now? I'm afraid I can't. The light of dawn Triest, her name resounded throughout the 900 million world layers. The number of combatants who were on good terms with her couldn't be counted. And he was just a newbie from a scattered world. No one would believe in themselves. Triest could even kill me on the spot for slandering her. Iron Fist Bali had yet to recover from his injuries, so he was probably no match for her. It had been a while since Su Sher entered that world. Damn it, I have to figure out a way to get her out of there. But there was no way to fight against Triest. The difference in strength between the two sides was like the difference between clouds and mud. Gu Qingshan's heart gradually tightened. At this moment, a timid voice sounded, "Excuse me, what happened to you?" Gu Qingshan stopped abruptly. He looked towards the source of the sound. The little girl was looking at him, her eyes evaluating him. "I was talking to you just now, but you didn't hear me," she explained. "What did you say to me?" "I wanted to ask you to take me to the Justice Iron Fist Club to seek refuge. As you know, as a convicted maid, I really can't hide from the Bramble Bird royal family's pursuit forever." As soon as the little girl said so, her expression changed. She disappeared on the spot. At the same time, the door to the room opened again. Two groups of fully armed guards came in. They exuded an air of killing intent. "Who are you?" the leader of the group shouted harshly. Gu Qingshan answered without changing her expression. "The light of dawn and the spirit of the holy tree want me to stay here." The guards all froze. At this point, another group of guards entered the room. They were the guards who had come to this box before. They knew about Gu Qingshan. Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. "This is an esteemed guest who came together with the spirit of the holy tree," one of the guards hurriedly explained. "Are you sure?" "That's right. Lady Triest also gave him a medal and specifically told him that he would stay here." The leader looked at Gu Qingshan. Indeed, Lady Triest's medal was in Gu Qingshan's hand. Then there was no mistake. Unless Lady Triest herself bestowed it, no one would be able to receive her medal. It was only now that the guards understood. Anyone who can enter this room must be a guest, so they can only blame themselves for being too nervous that they couldn't help but want to investigate when they saw an unfamiliar face. "We are very sorry. Due to the urgency of the situation, we hope you can forgive us if we have offended you," the leader spoke apologetically. "It's fine," Gu Qingshan replied. He thought of something and appeared curious. "What are you looking for? How about you tell me? If I see anything, I can directly report it to you." The guards exchanged glances. "If it's Lady Triest's guest, we are looking for a royal maid. She stole an important treasure of the Bramble Bird royal family and is currently hiding," the leader answered. "She should be around 10 years old. Yes, she is actually Her Royal Highness the Princess Maid. If you find any suspicious young girls, please tell us right away." "Definitely," Gu Qingshan replied. The guards nodded and bowed in unison. Then, they quietly and quickly retreated out of the room. Gu Qingshan hurriedly said, "Wait a minute, is there anything else?" The leader of the guards stopped and asked. "About that. I don't want to stay here either, but the light of dawn and the spirit of the holy tree told me to wait here, so I can't leave." Gu Qing-shan shrugged helplessly. I'm afraid that if someone comes in and sees me as an unfamiliar face, it would be another troublesome misunderstanding. Hearing that, the guards silently nodded. But we can't always be rude to our guests. If we do that, what would be left of the Bramblebird's etiquette? This is Lady Tree's guest, as well as someone brought here by the spirit of the holy tree. If the guards who come to search cause trouble again, they would most likely anger the two esteemed ladies. Thinking that, the leader of the guards became serious. He told the guards, "Relay my orders, the royal green room has already been searched twice, there is no need to search again. Furthermore, we have an esteemed guest here, no one is to disturb her again." "Understood," the guards replied. "Thank you." Gu Qing-shan clasped her fist and said, "No need to be so formal, it was our bad hospitality." The leader of the guards lightly bowed. This time, they really left the room. The door closed again. Sha! The little girl reappeared. Her face was covered with beads of sweat, and she gasped for air. It seems hiding from the search wasn't an easy task. "Thank you for your protection, you are a gentleman full of compassion, I will always remember your kindness," she said. She was clearly exhausted to her limit, but still bowed solemnly to Gu Qing-shan. Her etiquette couldn't be faulted at all. Gu Qing-shan stared closely at the little girl. Originally, he didn't want to get involved in anything, but now he had no other choice. He had to grasp any chance he could to help Su Cher survive. Gu Qing-shan was quickly thinking, countless thoughts flashing through his mind. He was rethinking every single detail of his journey to this place. He was trying his best to find a single ray of hope. "You're now," the little girl opened her mouth. "Please wait a moment, I have something to take care of first." Gu Qing-shan cut her off. He anxiously paced back and forth in the room. The little girl went silent and observed him. What is he in a hurry for? Right, I was hiding on the side just now and heard their conversation. The spirit of the holy tree brought him here. His goal is to enter Treest's collection world to find his girlfriend. Seems like he's worried about his girlfriend. The little girl slowly understood. Just now I made a request, but was interrupted by the guard who suddenly appeared. Since the guard won't come to search again for now, I'll wait until this person calms down a bit before begging him to take me away. After all, he's the only person who hasn't exposed my existence since I've been on the run for so long. He's a member of the Justice Iron Fist Club. Thinking that, the little girl calmed down. Gu Qing-shan paced back and forth in the room, his mind quickly turning. First of all, the light of dawn, the spirit of the holy tree, and even the big rooster were all top-notch combatants. A mere maid wouldn't be able to escape their senses. This maid was sprayed all over by me, but still managed to maintain her etiquette and elegance, asking me for a solution. Inside her sleeves, her skin was as smooth as milk. She also knows this miraculous method of disappearing. This is most likely a top-notch secret technique, otherwise she would have been caught already. Every time she appears, even my inner sight can't detect her. As a cultivator, Gu Qing-shan has never seen such a powerful concealment technique before. Such a technique must be extremely valuable. Any organization would set up the strictest of procedures to prevent a technique of this level from being leaked out. Not to mention, such a top-notch technique would require a long period of study and comprehension to fully grasp. How could a mere maid do all that? Which means she's someone else. From the series of events that happened, there was only one person who never showed up at the banquet. The only person who could cause Treest so much trouble wouldn't be a mere maid. The Bramble-Bird Princess. Gu Qing-shan nodded unnoticeably and made a hypothesis in his mind. Then, his thoughts turned. If this little girl really is the Bramble-Bird Princess, why would she run away? As the next heir of the Bramble-Bird royal family, the Bramble-Bird Princess doesn't need to fear Treest. She only needs to call for countless bramble-birds to serve her. But she really is running away. If that's the case, the Bramble-Bird royal family is done for. In other words, Trieste has already taken control of the entire bramble bird race. Trieste has already defected to the demons. From the looks of it, a bull's calamity has most likely arrived. Trieste must have made a series of preparations in the dark. If it was Gu Qingshan, he would have done the same. Gu Qingshan sighed in disappointment. On the way here, the entire Abul Hotel was filled with joyous laughter. Everyone was enjoying the Bramble Bird Princess coming-of-age ceremony banquet. This banquet will last for 3 days and 3 nights. But including the spirit of the holy tree and the big rooster, who would know that the demons are already hiding in the dark, preparing to slaughter them all? Who would notice that World's Apocalypse Online was about to ignite? Gu Qingshan's heart sank. He felt like he was standing on a sinking ship, while everyone on the ship didn't notice at all. Sighing, Gu Qingshan continued to think. Trieste's preparations, are there any loopholes? I'm not on the same level as Trieste. I don't even know what kind of preparations she made, let alone loopholes. There's no other way. Swear, Gu Qingshan muttered. At this point, he couldn't hold back his emotions anymore. Trieste is extremely powerful. She has the kindling of the apocalypse, as well as the support of billions of demons in the dark. And I don't know anything about any of Trieste's preparations. And Shui has already fallen into that world, about to die or become demonized. What should I do? Is there any way? Gu Qingshan picked up a bottle of ice wine and placed it on his cheek. The cold sensation forced him to calm down. Calm down. I need to calm down. I need to seriously think about it. Gu Qingshan encouraged himself. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and quickly thought again. Thinking about it carefully, from start to finish, I only know a single thing. That is, Trieste went out with the spirit of the holy tree, as well as the big rooster. Such a simple piece of information, even if I know it, what use would it be? Wait a minute. Gu Qingshan turned around. Chapter 588. The Royal Green Room. Time slowly passed. The liquor was still being kept cold inside the ice bucket. The 20-layer cream cake was giving off a faint sweet smell. The light wasn't too bright, but it wasn't dim either. It was just enough to make people feel comfortable. Gu Qingshan and the little girl exchanged glances. There were only the two of them left in the room, and this place was temporarily safe. Sir? The little girl tried asking. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything for now. After all, it's been a while since Su Cher entered that world. His thoughts were moving quickly, trying to find a loophole in Trieste's plan. Why did Trieste have to search for the Bramble Bird Princess in such a hurry? If she had sided with the demons, she should have immediately spread World's Apocalypse Online and launched a surprise attack on Abul. But Trieste didn't do that. The war hadn't even started yet. Abul was completely silent and peaceful. Under the calm surface of the water, the undercurrent was surging. Everything was like a sharp arrow on a bow, ready to be fired. Trieste had mobilized all the royal guards. She was still searching for the princess. Just this private room alone had been searched twice. Even an esteemed guest like the spirit of the holy tree was mobilized by Trieste to join the search. Trieste's methods are quite good. But so much time has already passed. Does Trieste not intend to start the war without finding the Bramble Bird Princess? Why did this happen? Gu Qingshan looked at the little girl and fell into thought. This Bramble Bird Princess is quite smart. She was clearly hiding where Trieste was. Trieste probably didn't think of that at all. War Princess. There must be a crucial point that I don't understand. To solve this, I have to find that crucial point from the Bramble Bird Princess. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan spoke. Just now, you seem to have something you wanted to tell me? He asked the little girl. Ah yes, Your Excellency, I want to ask you to take me away from here, to the Justice Iron Fist Club in the superdimensional zones, the little girl hurriedly answered. No problem, I can take you away from here, without waiting for the little girl to feel happy. Gu Qingshan continued. I need to wait for someone first. Only after I get her can I take you away. What? You need to wait for someone? The little girl was stunned. The situation was dire. Triste would find him at any moment. But he still had to wait for someone. The little girl recalled the previous matter and suddenly said, "You are waiting for your girlfriend, right?" "Yes." Gu Qing-shan answered without changing her expression. She participated in the call of the bramble birds. Triste agreed to take care of her, so she should be coming out soon. The little girl fell into a state of panic. If there was no hope of survival, he would accept his fate. But now that he had suddenly seen the light, he was unwilling to give up the chance to live no matter what. The young lady sized up the man in front of her. This was a young man from a scattered world. He didn't understand anything. "Can you persuade him to give up waiting for his girlfriend?" The little girl pondered for a moment and shook her head. "I'm afraid that's not possible. Since he was willing to pay such a huge price to get the spirit of the eternal holy tree to speak up for him, he must be determined to save his girlfriend. The only way was to help him. As long as his problem was solved, he could follow him and use the beacon of the Iron Fist Club and the Void String to leave this place. Sigh, there was really no other way. As long as I leave this place, no matter who I meet, they would call for the guards. Because the reward for finding me was so high that no one could refuse. Everyone wanted to establish a good relationship with the Bramble Bird royal family. But no one knew that the royal family no longer existed. The current royal family were all fake. The little girl looked at Gu Qing-shan with a complicated expression. Only he didn't call for the guards right away. He was the only chance of survival. Compared to waiting for death here, following him was the only chance of survival. I am the last remaining bloodline of the Bramble Bird royal family. I definitely can't die here. The little girl quickly made up her mind and said, "I can help you enter Triste's world and pick up your girlfriend, but you must swear that you won't leave me behind. You have a way to enter that world?" Gu Qing-shan appeared surprised. "I do, I actually stole Triste's world. That's why she was in such a hurry to find me," the little girl answered. Gu Qing-shan held her breath and asked in a low voice, "Why did you steal her world?" The little girl answered, "This is my revenge, and I have the ability to make sure that Triste will never be able to find that world, as long as I don't get caught by her." Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but swing her fist. "So that's why. World's Apocalypse Online's kindling was hidden inside Triste's world. Since that world was stolen by the Bramble Bird Princess, the Demon King order couldn't spread, so Triste couldn't help but delay her attack. This was the crux of everything." "Well done!" he loudly shouted. The little girl was a bit surprised, smiled, then quickly regained her calmness and sorrow. The little girl continued, "But I have to tell you, things might not be as you think. That world is extremely dangerous, more dangerous than any world you've ever been to. Do you know what kind of world I've been to?" Gu Qing-shan asked. "I don't, but it's truly dangerous. A single misstep and you'll lose your life. You must be extremely careful. I don't want to die with you." "I know, Your Highness the Bramble Bird Princess." The room fell into silence. The little girl couldn't help but take a step back. She couldn't help but take another step back. But when she saw that Gu Qing-shan didn't do anything, she didn't take another step back. The little girl stared closely at Gu Qing-shan, trying her best to control the expression on her face so that she wouldn't show any signs of panic. She waited for a while. The man in front of her was still staring at her, not saying anything, not doing anything. The little girl slowly understood. He doesn't intend to do anything. What a strange person. Whenever anyone else found out about me, they would immediately call for the guards and report that they've found the little maid. This person saw through my true identity, but didn't do anything about it. Each and every one of his actions seemed to have been carefully considered, and contained his unique thoughts. The little girl couldn't help but ask, "When did you notice?" "When I want to see it." "Is my disguise such a failure?" the little girl dejectedly asked. "No, it's because you're too outstanding. The role of a maid doesn't suit you. I'm saying this in hopes that you'll feel a bit better. Do you feel a bit better now?" Thank you. I think you felt that at this point we should be honest with each other. That's why you told me my identity. Once again, I have to praise your excellence, your highness." The little girl silently nodded, then turned around. Her dull skin turned as white as jade, the maid costume disappeared, replaced by a pale blue dress. Her posture was elegant, her demeanor was dignified, even with the strictest of etiquette, she didn't seem to be out of line. But she was only 12 years old. Gu Qingshan's eyes met with hers. Unlike the light of dawn Trieste, Her Royal Highness the Princess had a pair of eyes as clear as the sky. When you look at her face to face, you'll unconsciously fall into them, feeling a sense of comfort as if you're looking up at the stars. Let me introduce myself again. I am Lola, this generation's Bramblebird Princess. Lola? That's right, I am Gu Qingshan. I have no other hope now, Mr. Gu Qingshan. You came from the Justice Iron Fist Club, can you take me away? She changed the way she addressed him, no longer calling him you. Of course, as long as you can take me into Trieste's world, and let me take back my girlfriend, Gu Qingshan answered without hesitation. Princess Lola hesitated a bit, then asked, why was she able to enter that world, but you weren't? Gu Qingshan then told her the reason. This little princess is very sharp, so I don't need to lie to her. Hearing that, Princess Lola clicked her tongue. No wonder you want to save your girlfriend. One last question, Lola continued. I can take you to the world you found, but before that, how can I trust you? By Hua Sex Gu Qingshan hereby swears, as long as you help me enter that world, I will definitely take you away from this place and find a way to survive. If I go against this vow, my Tao heart shall be broken and I shall forever be a cripple. An invisible gust of wind drifted around Gu Qingshan, slowly entering his body. Is this the vow of cultivators? It's not common, but it's very useful. I'll trust you this once, Lola said. She pointed her finger at the 20-layer cake. The huge cake split open on both sides, revealing a transparent crystal ball inside. The crystal ball silently floated in the air, giving off a faint misty glow. Lola waved her hand. The crystal ball hovered into her hand. This is Trieste's world, I've sealed it away, that's why she couldn't sense its location, Laura explained. Gu Qingshan was surprised. It turns out Lola used a spell to seal off this world's presence, and hid it inside the cake. The bramble birds are nobles of the mystic zones, they would never eat in front of others. Other than the bramble birds, the other people who entered this green room were also not ordinary people. Why would they cut a piece of cake and eat it in front of everyone? That's why hiding the crystal ball inside the cake was a good idea. Chapter 589. Gu Qingshan looked at Lola, then at the crystal ball in her hand. How impressive, he muttered in a low voice. This 12-year-old girl was able to seal an entire world. Princess Lola stroked the crystal ball and chanted an incantation. A soft string came out from the crystal ball and hovered in front of Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan caught the string. Lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI. Void string. From Trieste's collection world, you've already bound your own superdimensional beacon, so you cannot use this world's void string to bind with the beacon of this world, war god skills. This void string does not contain any skills. Chronology event note. You've already learned about the relevant chronology event item description. This string leads to a superdimensional world that contains the hopes of billions of demons. This world is covered by a thin layer of seal. This seal and the power of the world have reached a miraculous balance. Please do not carelessly disturb it, otherwise this balance might be broken. Gu Qingshan looked at Lola. Sure enough, Lola's expression became tense. She spoke with a serious tone. Truthfully, I was only able to seal this world out of sheer luck, so make sure you don't touch this crystal ball no matter what. I'll be the one to cast the spell when we enter, otherwise, if the seal breaks down, Trieste will immediately sense it. I understand. Gu Qingshan also became serious. In comparison, he knew a bit more than Lola did. Billions of demons were waiting for this world to appear. because it contained the Demon King order. At the same time, Gu Qingshan noticed that this world was a super-dimensional world. If billions of demons were to obtain the void string of this super-dimensional world, just thinking about it made his hair stand on end. No matter where this world was, it would cause a storm of blood and carnage. But Lola actually managed to seal this world. This was truly a stroke of luck. Triste is probably going crazy from worry right now. Should I throw this crystal ball somewhere? Gu Qingshan silently thought. He quickly gave up on the idea. No matter where they were thrown, there was no guarantee that anyone would be able to win against the Demon King order, and the light of dawn Triste that came with it, and the billions of demons in the fallen zones. Gu Qingshan was unwilling to give up and asked, "After saving my girlfriend, can we leave with this world?" "No, do you think the Iron Fist Club's void string can move an entire world? If that's the case, no one in the 900 million world layers would have to fear the demons, they could just take the world and run away," Lola helplessly said. "How long can your seal last?" Gu Qingshan asked again. "We need to find your girlfriend within a day." Gu Qingshan looked into the crystal ball, only to see nothing but a blizzard inside, nothing at all. The wind and snow were too heavy. Even if there was any scenery, it would not even be able to catch a glimpse before it quickly disappeared in the goose feather-like snowflakes. "I'm going in now. Wait for me outside. I'll take you away after I save my girlfriend," said Gu Qingshan. He grabbed the earth sword from the void of space, held it in his hand, and prepared for battle. "I have to come with you," the little girl said. "Why?" Gu Qingshan was surprised. "Because I don't feel good staying here, and if I want to survive, I have to help you survive first. You also want to fight?" "No, in a Bramblebird collection world, other Bramblebirds can't leak their presence or they'll be found out." "Then you can stay outside. You're only 12 years old after all." "What do you mean?" "You're only 6 to 7 years older than me." When it came to age, Lola was annoyed. She hated it when people called her young. Gu Qingshan said, "I'm afraid that you'll—" Lola cut him off. "Gu Qingshan, I've seen a lot more things than you who came from a scattered world. I can provide you with some knowledge, but you're still too young. I'm worried. You can't even deal with your own girlfriend and get trapped by her. Where do you get the confidence to think about others?" She really couldn't refute that. Gu Qingshan shrugged, unable to say anything. He suddenly realized something. In the newspaper in the past life, Triste still started the war in the end. The Demon King order also began to spread throughout a bowl. Which means the Bramblebird princess was still caught by Triste. Gu Qingshan stared at the angry little princess. "That's right. She's the key to stopping Triste. I can't leave her here alone, otherwise, if she's found out, she'll definitely suffer a terrible fate. All right, let's go in together. We're leaving right now. There's no time to waste." Gu Qingshan put the earth sword back into the void of space. He held the void string in one hand and let Lola hold him with the other. "That's more like a gentleman," Lola commented. She held Gu Qingshan's hand and chanted an incantation. A screen of light flashed. The two of them disappeared from the room. After they left, the crystal ball hovered in the air and silently went back into the 20-layer cake. The cracked cake quickly closed up, the outer layer of cream fusing back together without leaving a single trace. The 20-layer cake was filled with exotic fruits, giving off a faint, creamy fragrance that smelled extremely tempting. Most of the nobles here would definitely restrain themselves, just like the Bramblebirds after entering this room. They would silently follow their noble etiquette and not try to steal this cake. Cold. Bone-chilling cold. On the endless frozen wasteland, a few black dots were moving forward. Su Cher was shivering, carefully avoiding the large groups of people, and walking by herself. At a certain point, she sighed in annoyance, staring at the glowing text on her retina. "Congratulations, you've been chosen by heaven to be a pioneer. This is a gift from the Bramblebirds. Please confirm to install the system." Following that, an option popped up. Confirm/reject. Su Cher chose reject. Right away. Another line of text popped up. Please state the reason for your rejection. No reason. Rejecting Kindling's invitation without reason. Your rating will be lowered by 1 rank. Following the last sentence, the glowing text and the options slowly faded away. After everything was out of sight, Sue Cher angrily asked, "Can't you just block this notification?" Ever since she entered this world, this notification had already popped up a few times. As soon as Sue Cher said that, another UI appeared on her retina, quickly scrawling lines of text. "I'm sorry, this is World's Apocalypse Online, Kindling. I can't block it," the system replied. This was Sue Cher's system. "This, Kindling, will it come looking for me again?" Sue Cher asked. "If you spend a bit of soul points, I can directly block its notification." "Block it," Sue Cher answered without hesitation. A wise choice. Just as the system warned, this is a demonized order, you definitely can't be tainted by it. Even if I don't become demonized, I don't need 2 systems. If it weren't for the sake of meeting Qing Shan, I wouldn't even need a system. Sue Cher's voice turned cold. The system replied, "Please consider this issue rationally. Without my existence, there's a high chance that Kindling will deceive you, making it easier for it to take over your body." "All right, whatever," Sue Cher nonchalantly replied. While they were talking, a thud came from not too far away. Sue Cher turned around, only to see another person lying on the ground. She couldn't help but want to help him up, but as soon as she took 1 step, she couldn't help but stop. Several figures rushed forward and killed the man on the ground in 2 or 3 moves. A cluster of red light rose up from the corpse and entered their bodies. "Ah, how warm," one of them exclaimed. "That's right, we didn't actually kill him, we just sent him away from this world and back to a bull," another person giggled. The others turned around without changing their expressions and continued forward. They didn't have much time, so if they wanted a good reward, they had to quickly pass through the frozen wasteland and head to the next location. This person wouldn't actually die anyways. At most, he would just leave too early and receive a bit less reward. No one had the time to pay attention to such things. That's right, according to the rules that Trieste announced, no one would die here. Killing each other would bring some benefits and rewards. If someone was facing death, they would leave behind the illusion of death where they stood, while the real person would be transported back to a bull. Sue Cher squinted her beautiful eyes and silently looked at the corpse. This person had helped him in a battle before. Although it was only a small favor, and although Sue Cher didn't need that kind of help, she still remembered his kindness. In the snowstorm, the corpse was slowly sinking into the ice. Did he really return to a bull? Sue Cher felt like something wasn't right. Chapter 590. The snowstorm continued to howl. On the frozen wasteland, people were constantly moving forward. This place was too cold, and battles were occasionally breaking out. Everyone wanted to get through this place as quickly as possible. Sue Cher was at the very back. She stood in front of the corpse and silently observed it. At this point, more than half of the corpse had sunk into the frozen wasteland. As Sue Cher watched the corpse slowly sinking down, she was silently doubtful. She stepped on the ice. A hard and smooth sensation came from the bottom of her foot. Strange, the ice is so hard, how did the corpse sink in? Sue Cher waved her hand and summoned the scepter of law. Pointing the scepter at the corpse, Sue Cher muttered, "Soul points deprivation." The scepter remained still. The corpse also didn't react. Sue Cher silently sighed in relief. Any living creature would have soul points, but this corpse didn't. If that's the case, this person didn't actually die, but instead returned to a bull. Sue Cher calmed down and continued on her way. The snowstorm on the frozen wasteland was getting stronger. She needed to catch up to the main group, that way the battle would be much easier. As soon as she took a few steps, Sue Cher hesitated. A strange feeling was lingering in her mind. As the heir of the Blood Sea, she had been carefully nurtured by the Lord of Blood, so she had a unique understanding of life. But something still doesn't feel right. Su Cher stopped and walked back to the corpse. In just a few breaths worth of time, the corpse had almost completely sunk into the frozen wasteland. Seeing this eerie scene, Su Cher gritted her teeth. Since I've already done it, I might as well do a thorough check. She raised the scepter and pointed at the corpse. Servant of flesh and blood, you shall serve the master of the Blood Sea. This was a high-ranked Blood Sea spell, capable of using blood to control the body and enter battle again. However, because the body no longer had a soul, the servant of flesh and blood had lost a lot of its memories, so it could only use a random skill from when it was alive. The scepter lightly vibrated. The spell was completed. The corpse that had sunk into the ice slowly moved. It struggled fiercely in the layer of ice, and soon broke the surrounding ice and snow and drilled out. The corpse slowly stood up, walked to Su Cher, and knelt down. From this moment on, it was loyal to her. Attack from behind. Su Cher stared at the corpse and silently issued an order in her heart. The corpse let out a long howl, waved its fist, and blasted a dark flame behind it. The firelight flashed in the wind and snow. As Su Cher silently watched this, she felt a chill run down her spine. That's right, this person had come together with everyone, overcame all obstacles along the way, and finally arrived at the ice plains. He did know this fire elemental fist technique. According to the rules of the Blood Sea, fake corpses couldn't be controlled. Only the corpses of living beings would be enslaved by the Blood Sea. In other words, this corpse was that person. He died here and did not return to a bowl. But how was he going to explain the matter of soul power? Where did all the soul power he had gathered in his entire life go? Su Cher suddenly recalled the red light on the bodies of those people. It's so warm, they laughed and chatted as they headed deeper into the ice plains. Su Cher went silent for a while. That can't be right. This person was quite powerful when he was alive. After a series of battles, he was heavily wounded and collapsed on the ice plains, while the people who killed him only obtained a small amount of soul points. A large amount of soul points was gone. Who took the soul points? Su Cher silently thought. Girlie, seems like you've noticed something, a voice came from within the wind and snow. Su Cher abruptly turned around, only to see that the people who just left had returned. They were the ones who killed this person. They cooperated well and acted quickly. Before anyone could react, they had already killed an innocent person. Su Cher cautiously stared at them, raised her scepter in front of herself, and silently retreated. Tsk, how cautious. I really must say you're a smart and beautiful girl. I like you a lot, another voice spoke. They spread out and surrounded Su Cher. A bald, bulky man walked forward and faced Su Cher. Actually, I'm very curious, with such an excellent person like you, why didn't the system carry you? He asked. Su Cher pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Her gaze fell on her retina. Lines of glowing text were hovering there. Attention please, because you've repeatedly refused to carry Kindling, World's Apocalypse Online. Kindling has recognized you as an enemy. You will be surrounded and attacked by the possessors of Kindling. Furthermore, Kindling is currently targeting you, increasing their invasion. Relying on the amount of soul points you have stored, the system will be able to stop Kindling's invasion for a certain amount of time. Remaining time, 19 minutes 57 seconds. This wasn't a very long time. Su Cher silently asked, System, what will happen if I run out of soul points? The system can no longer protect you. Kindling will invade the system, and you will become demonized. The system replied. Su Cher was stunned. I'll become demonized if I run out of soul points? Is demonization what they're experiencing right now? She asked. Oh no, they're currently in a state of preparation for death. Because World's Apocalypse Online hasn't been activated yet, Kindling has allowed them to live for now to help Kindling search for more energy. Once the Demon King Order awakens, these people's souls will become food for the Order. Why is that? Because kindling doesn't like them, they don't have the qualifications to become demonized. But please pay attention, they're currently searching for soul points for kindling, so their combat prowess has been greatly boosted by kindling. Su Cher looked at them. They seemed very excited. In fact, their expressions that were filled with killing intent and lust were actually their true selves. In fact, their actions had already explained one thing. They were originally demons, there was no need for them to become demonized. Su Cher sensed the powerful fluctuations of power coming from those people and silently sighed. It's been a very long time since she was in such a dangerous situation. At this point, the bald, bulky man shouted, "Everyone go, kill that girl. Be gentle, it's best if we catch her first." Someone couldn't help but shout. "You brat, you're getting lustful again," laughter rang out. While they were talking, they were also observing Su Cher's reaction. Sometimes, having the advantage of numbers combined with a certain psychological attack was enough to make some women break down. But they were disappointed. Su Cher silently stood there as if she didn't hear anything. Her cold gaze passed through the demonized people one by one. Swinging her scepter, Su Cher muttered, "Blood sea protection." Waves began to rise from the lake of blood, condensing into bright red strings. The strings of blood flew up and circled around Su Cher's body, forming a protective barrier. While the enemies were using their psychological attack, Su Cher took the chance to set up a close-range defense for herself. She then continued to chant incantations, trying to activate a series of other spells. The people slowly stopped laughing. They also noticed that this girl was calmly and seriously preparing for battle. "Everyone go. She seems to be a spell attacker, don't give her enough time to prepare." The bald, bulky man loudly shouted, "Go. Kill her." Under the bald, bulky man's lead, 7 to 8 people charged at Su Cher. Su Cher didn't seem to notice them at all, only continuing to chant and prepare herself. Following her chant, faint light began to flow from the scepter into the frozen wasteland beneath Su Cher's feet. It wasn't until these demonized people were getting closer that Su Cher swung her scepter. Her voice could be heard in the wind. "Waves of blood, I summon you." She stabbed the scepter into the ground. Boom! Waves of blood rose all over the place. The people reacted quickly. As soon as the sea of blood appeared, they quickly retreated. They stood on top of a large rock, looking at Su Cher, only to see that within a 20-meter radius around Su Cher, the frozen wasteland had turned into boiling blood. Su Cher silently hovered at the center of the blood, coldly looking at them. "We're all combatants from various worlds, we've been through many battles, young lady. You're too naive to think that you can lure us in," a man with a scar on his head mocked her. Su Cher completely ignored him. She held her scepter tightly, chanting towards the boiling blood. "Where I am is the boundless sea of blood." All the prerequisites had been successfully set up. This incantation was her ultimate goal. Following Su Cher's chant, a giant head floated up from the blood. It was a blood-red giant, but it was very difficult for him to appear. His head was stuck in a 20-meter wide area of blood water. "Roar!" The blood giant roared in fury. He dived into the blood again, reached out with both hands to grab the sides of the blood and pulled. The range of the blood quickly expanded. Very quickly, the entire frozen wasteland was turned into a lake of blood. It was now that the blood giant slowly stood up from the vast lake of blood. It was wearing a crimson armor, its gigantic body obscuring the wind and snow in the sky. Its mountainous body stood in the middle of the lake of blood. Crimson mist continuously rose from its body. It looked like a monster from ancient mythology. "Astaroth, why did you come here yourself?" Su Cher asked. The giant stood in front of Su Cher, speaking with a resounding voice. "Death and madness are coming, Su Cher. They are watching you from the void of space." Su Cher's heart suddenly sank. Astaroth was one of the main cards of the blood sea that had mystical premonitions, so its warning wouldn't be groundless. It must have sensed some sort of omen of danger. "Am I going to die? Or become demonized?" Su Share's heart began to tighten. She couldn't help but look afar, only to see the 7 to 8 people hiding far away, gathered together and doing something strange. Each of them had their hand on the bald man's shoulder. "Hurry up, there's no need to hide anything at a time like this." The bald man stared at the blood giant Astaroth and spoke with a nervous expression. Chapter 591. In the snowstorm, the group had already moved away from Su Share and the Lake of Blood. But they didn't retreat just like that. The 7 to 8 demonized candidates placed their hands on the bald brute's shoulders. They gave up all the soul points they had collected. The bald man smirked as he looked at the Lake of Blood. At this point, he was no longer afraid of the blood giant, because the soul points of the 8 of them had already met Kindling's requirements. "Pretty little girl, a delicate flower like you should be violently ravaged to death," the bald man told Su Share. He seemed to be intoxicated, as if he was fantasizing about something. "Astaroth, get rid of them," Su Share said in disgust. The blood giant responded and charged forward. With each step, he left a deep footprint on the frozen wasteland. The bald man's expression changed. He opened his arms towards the sky and quickly spoke. "Kindling, I offer you all of my soul points in exchange for the Demon Lord's protection." A second later, something appeared from the void of space. The bald man stared closely at it and chanted, "Jycrops, climb up from the abyss of fallen souls, the Demon King Order needs you." Boom! A gray giant hand broke through the ice, followed by a 25-meter wide head. It turned its head in a circle, observing its surroundings. It was now that everyone noticed that the head only had a single eye and a gaping maw. For the Demon King Order, the head spoke in a low voice. A large section of the frozen wasteland cracked open and peeled off from the ground. Then, the huge body crawled out. He had the dark skin of a corpse, giving off a thick stench of rotting flesh. The one-eyed giant stood up, reached into the ground, and took out a large mace. He swung the mace, silently waiting for orders. This demon lord was a bit similar to the altered demon lord that Gu Qingshan ran into in the dark tunnel. But the demon lord that Gu Qingshan ran into only had half a body left, while this demon lord was completely intact and wielded a weapon. "Get rid of that blood giant!" the bald man shouted in a frenzy. "Understood," the god-fiend responded in a deep voice. The others stared at the demon god, their faces gradually revealing fanaticism. This was a dreamlike ability. Such a powerful monster would actually listen to the orders of these people. This feeling was like conquering the whole world. Later on, when I become stronger, I'll be able to summon such a monster to fight for me, and there'll definitely be a place for me among the lords of the 900 million world layers. Hearing the order, the giant demon god charged towards the blood lake without saying a word. The monster of the Sea of Blood, Astaroth, also rushed towards the giant. Soon, the two giants crashed into each other. They tore at each other and roared. The sound of every strike shook the entire ice field. This was like the battle of the giants in ancient myths. Moreover, from the looks of it, they would not be able to determine the victor within a short period of time. "Let's go and capture that girl. She can summon such a monster, so she must have a lot of soul power in her body." The bald man shouted again. The others immediately understood. Yes, soul power, only soul power could be used to exchange for power from the fire seed. They stared at Su Share greedily. One of them gulped and shouted, "The soul power is yours, I only want this girl." Deal. In front of Su Share, they had already begun to divide her up. Su Share was furious. Gritting her teeth, she unleashed her trump card. The scepter gave off a deep crimson glow, then abruptly exploded into 13 clusters of flames. The flames drifted, slowly losing their color in the wind. 13 cards neatly lined up in the void of space. Su Share stared at the deck and hesitated a bit. Because of the continuous consumption of soul points, the amount of time that the system could protect her was rapidly decreasing. At this point, she only had 15 minutes left. If she activated these 13 cards, she didn't know how much longer she could last. The demonized combatants were flying towards her. They were getting closer and closer to Su Cher. Ahahaha, this girl looks even prettier up close, don't try to steal her. Someone excitedly shouted. No, you have to let us enjoy her first before you take her away, another voice couldn't help but shout. These two sentences deeply angered Su Cher. She immediately made the final decision. Even if I have to pay any price, I can't let myself fall into these people's hands. Flowing blood sea, you know of the existence that walks the blood sea abyss. Su Cher raised her voice and chanted, Blood sea. Please help me summon her, let her majesty descend upon this world. A ripple of soul power spread out in all directions. Hee hee. Today, seems like it's going to be fun, a female chuckle came from somewhere. At the same time, the 13 cards flipped over to form a portrait of a beautiful woman. The demonized candidates all stopped. They stared blankly at the portrait, motionless. This is so beautiful, an unimaginable beauty, truly, they muttered to themselves. The woman in the portrait was unbelievably beautiful. Although her eyes were closed, she exuded a boundless charm. The 8 demonized candidates found themselves unable to move their eyes away. Their eyes slowly lost focus. Little girl, your situation doesn't look too good in the portrait. The beautiful woman's eyes were still closed as she muttered. When she spoke, there were no other living beings around. No one responded to her. The 8 demonized candidates just stood there in a daze, staring at her without saying a word. Only the sound of the battle between the demon lord and the blood sea giant could be heard from afar. That's right, thank you for coming. I will prepare the offering later, Su Cher respectfully said. Offering? Not this time. If you can survive and tell me your story, I'll be satisfied. While saying so, the beautiful woman lightly waved the fan in her hand. A breeze blew. Her silky hair fluttered in the wind. The thin dress she was wearing couldn't hide her jade-like skin and jade-like skin at all. As the fragrance drifted, it was another peerless charm. My story? Su Cher was startled. Yes, this is really too rare, the beautiful woman said with a pitiful expression. What you're facing is clearly the danger of someone else's fate, but you're bearing it for him. I've seen many strange things in the hundreds of millions of years I've been in the blood sea abyss, but I haven't seen a girl like you for tens of thousands of years. Remember, someone with your talent shouldn't bear too much for others. I hope you can survive. With that, the beautiful woman with her eyes closed disappeared from the portrait. The 13 dull cards flew back into the scepter. Su Cher was stunned for a moment, but she immediately reacted. She looked at the system interface. Time remaining, 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Oh no, I'm running out of soul power. She then looked at the 8 demonized candidate. They suddenly opened their eyes. What happened? I think I've lost consciousness. Wait, everyone, I can't move. What? You too? I can't lift my feet. I can't even move a finger. The 8 ferocious men shouted. Chapter 592. In the snowstorm. The 8 villains stood still without moving, their expressions extremely pale. What exactly is going on? Someone roared in a frenzy. The bald, robust man replied, I've already paid soul points and asked Kindling. It said that this is an extremely powerful curse. Kindling knows what this is. Everyone calmed down a bit. Kindling can definitely undo it as long as we pay a bit of soul points, the bald, robust man loudly declared, but his voice slowly became lower. His expression became extremely pale. Because in his vision, Kindling left him a line of text. Pay 100,000 soul points to undo this curse. 100,000 soul points. This was an astronomical number that no one had ever seen before. Even after killing so many people, the bald, robust man only obtained 110 soul points at most. The same scene appeared in front of everyone's eyes. No. There's no way to undo this curse. We're done for. Someone said in despair. Sue Cher wielded her scepter and slowly walked out from the snowstorm. She stopped in front of everyone and looked at the bald, robust man. The bald, robust man's expression changed several times before he finally squeezed out a stiff smile. "We're sorry, young lady, it was all a misunderstanding, we mistook you for someone else." Seeing him like that, the others hurriedly nodded. That's right, we mistook you for someone else, we're really sorry, we shouldn't have acted rashly, please forgive us, please be magnanimous and let us go, we'll lead the way for you from now on." They all tried to flatter her. Sue Cher didn't hear them at all. She moved her gaze away from the bald, robust man's face, and looked at someone else. "Just now, you said you wanted me?" Sue Cher softly asked. The man hesitated a bit, but couldn't think of a way to explain himself. Sue Cher lightly stroked the scepter and drew a card from it. This was a gray card. Gray represented the lowest level of cards. There was only a sharp dagger on the card's surface. As Sue Cher flicked the card, the dagger appeared in her hand. The man realized something and cried out in fear, "Don't, please don't. I was wrong. I shouldn't have offended you. Please spare my life. There are many people in my family waiting for me to feed." Sue Cher said, "You deserve sympathy, but what if I had fallen into your hands just now?" She shook her head and said nothing more. She stabbed the dagger into the man's chest at a slow speed. "Ah!" that person screamed. Sue Cher held the dagger and slashed downwards. The sharp dagger cut through the flesh, but it was stuck in the sternum. Sue Cher tried hard and found that she didn't have the strength to cut open the sternum. She sighed and let go of his hand. The servant of flesh walked up and held the dagger in her place. "Cut downwards all the way to the end," Sue Cher ordered. The servant of flesh and blood held the dagger tightly and cut open the villain's chest all the way to the middle of his legs, cutting all the flesh and blood in half. "Ah! You devil woman!" the man screamed in agony. The others were also soaked in cold sweat as they saw this, shouting in a frenzy. "Continue, there are 7 more people, they'll be treated the same." Sue Cher crossed her arms. The servant of flesh and blood held the dagger and cut open the stomachs of all the people who killed him. On the frozen wasteland, screams and cries resounded one after another. After doing all that, the servant of flesh and blood obediently returned to Sue Cher. He knelt on the ground and brought the dagger in front of Sue Cher. The blood-stained dagger turned back into a card and lightly flew in front of Sue Cher. "This is my fruit-peeling knife, unfortunately. I can't wash it clean anymore," Sue Cher muttered. She lightly tapped the card from afar. The gray card quickly flew away with the snowstorm and disappeared from Sue Cher's sight. She had given up on this card. "All right, lady, you've calmed down, can you let us go now?" The bald, robust man endured the intense pain and breathed heavily. Sue Cher looked at him and suddenly smiled. She deduced, "You don't have a way to use soul points, yet you were able to summon such a monster. If that's the case, the only way for you to obtain soul points is by killing," pointing at the one-eyed giant that crawled out from the ground, Sue Cher asked. "Summoning that monster probably requires quite a bit of soul points, right?" Everyone exchanged glances, not daring to answer. "Among the people you killed, if there were any females, you must have," Sue Cher muttered, but didn't continue. "It was easy to imagine what happened to those girls. Even I had to use everything I had to defeat them." With that in mind, Sue Cher's expression became pale from anger. She asked the servant of flesh and blood, "Do you still remember who killed you?" The servant of flesh and blood appeared troubled and replied, "I don't remember anything from when I was alive, but whenever I face them, I felt a sense of discomfort. While they're still alive, eat them. Yes, thank you, master, for bestowing me with food." A few moments later, Sue Cher nervously stared at the system UI. 2 lines of text quickly appeared on the UI. "You've obtained some soul points as replenishment. The system will continue to help you resist Kindling S invasion. Remaining time to live, 22 minutes. Sue Cher looked at these 2 lines of text. "I have 22 minutes left. She wiped the tears from her eyes and told the servant of flesh and blood, "Let's go on another side." Gu Qing Shan opened her eyes from the darkness. Cold. Very cold. This was an unnatural chill that wasn't something that a physique could resist. She couldn't see anything around her. A voice suddenly resounded in her ears. "Welcome to the Light of Dawn, Triste's collection world. You must help Triste solve a few of her problems. She will reward you according to your work. After you solve a problem, the world will automatically send you to another problem. The more problems you solve, the more generous your reward will be. And now, the first problem has come. First battle. Siege battle. You must work together with everyone else to defeat the enemy and break through their siege. This is a test of your skills. If you can successfully break through their siege, you will officially be qualified to help the Light of Dawn clean up the world's problems. The test shall now begin." The voice disappeared. In the cold silence, a small, cold hand reached out and grabbed Gu Qing Shan's hand. "What is it?" Gu Qing Shan asked. "I'm scared," Lola curtly replied. The two of them listened. The howling of the snowstorm outside sounded like the cries of ghosts. "Did you hear that voice just now?" "I did, but I've isolated myself. I won't do anything, so Triste won't be able to discover me, and this world won't trouble me. So that's why. Let's go. I'll take the front, you take the back. Can I sit on your shoulder?" "Why?" "When I'm scared, my father always acts like this." Lola's voice stopped. Her spirits sank. Her father is no longer here. Father, mother, little brother, even her entire family is no longer here. And now I'm the only one left in this world. Gu Qing Shan sighed. He just found out that the bramble bird's age was different from humans. A year in the fantasy zones was extremely short. The 12-year-old bramble bird Princess Lola, according to human age, was only around 7 years old. Gu Qing Shan thought for a bit, then picked up Lola and put her on his right shoulder. "I like sitting on the left," Lola said. Gu Qing Shan put her back on his left shoulder. Lola seemed to have remembered something as her eyes started to redden. About that, I'm actually also an orphan," Gu Qing Shan interrupted her. You're an orphan?" Lola appeared interested. "I'm already used to living like this, and being an orphan also has its benefits," Gu Qing Shan said. "What benefits?" Lola was intrigued by this topic. "When we die, we won't have to worry about too many people shedding tears. What kind of benefit is that? How is it not a benefit? When you see others grieve for you, you'll feel even more grieved, but our advantage lies in the fact that we can perfectly avoid that kind of situation from now on." "Is that a kind of advantage?" Of course, saying so, they pushed the door open and quickly left. The howling of the snowstorm filled his ears. This was a snowstorm, and Gu Qing Shan found himself standing in the middle of a city. He released his inner sight to observe his surroundings. Corpses were piled up everywhere in the abandoned, dilapidated, and ancient city. Outside of the city was an endless frozen wasteland. The voice said that I must join hands with everyone, but there's no one else here. Seems like I came in too late, everyone else has already left, so I can't even find a single comrade. What a terrible start. Gu Qing Shan muttered in a low voice. Lola sat comfortably on his shoulder and replied, "That's not the case, because you're here?" Gu Qing Shan asked. Dong, dong, dong. With a series of dull sounds, the ground began to shake. The corpses piled up in the city began to move. At the same time, some humanoid monsters crawled out from the ground. They opened their empty eye sockets to look at Gu Qing Shan and Lola on the city wall. From the looks of it, they were humans when they were alive. But they had lost their eyes. The corpses also regained their mobility. Lola said, "I think the situation is even worse than you think." As she spoke, the monsters charged towards the two of them. "We don't have time to waste here." Gu Qing Shan grabbed the earth sword from the void of space and held it in her hand. Chapter 593. Lola patted Gu Qing Shan's shoulder and said, Do your best, I can't do anything." Following her words, the monsters noticed the two of them. They surrounded them. At the same time, the piles of corpses in the city began to slowly move. It would take a bit of time for so many corpses to be spread out. It couldn't be helped, as the kindling had already used the monsters to kill too many people in the very first trial. Those who entered this place didn't expect the call of the bramble birds to be a cruel battle of life and death. Those who survived wouldn't have thought too much about it, because according to the rules, those who died would have already returned to a bull. Roar! The humanoid monsters crawled out from the ground and charged from every direction. Long blades protruded from their joints, all of them were stained with blood, some even had bits of flesh hanging on them. From a few dozen meters away, the monsters leapt up, heading straight for Gu Qingshan and Lola. Gu Qingshan stood still, swinging the earth sword like a blooming flower of swords. Countless sword phantoms flew from the sword, slashing at the monsters in the sky. Blood rained down. Not good, there are too many. Lola looked around and shouted worriedly. Indeed, more and more monsters were crawling out from the ground. And the piles of corpses were also slowly unfolding. The corpses staggered, mixed in with the horde of monsters, squeezing and squeezing towards Gu Qingshan and Lola. The snow-covered city was slowly being taken over by the horde of monsters. There really are quite a lot of them, no wonder this trial is called a siege battle, Gu Qingshan mused. He silently thought, since this trial is a test of strength, flying away isn't a good idea. Think of something quickly, we're done for if we're surrounded, Lola said. Gu Qingshan let go of the earth sword. Kill, he spat out a single word. The earth sword flew out, drawing a beautiful arc around Gu Qingshan's body. The cold crescent-white sword phantoms turned into a full moon that quickly expanded, cutting the monsters in its path in half. Secret art crescent slash. Gu Qingshan was already a sainted realm sword cultivator, so this secret art was able to display unprecedented power in his hands. It's so beautiful. Is this the flying sword technique? Lola clapped excitedly. Gu Qingshan was speechless. She looked like she was watching a fireworks show. Unexpectedly, the monsters that dodged the sword auras all lay on the ground, stuffing the severed limbs into their mouths. Monsters kept emerging from the ground. These guys were fighting over the corpses. Their numbers were constantly increasing, and the rate at which they were increasing was getting faster and faster. In just a few breaths, the densely packed monsters had looted all the corpses. The entire city was filled with the sound of chewing that made people's hair stand on end. The monsters that had eaten the corpses had become even larger. Both their strength and speed had increased. They roared and charged towards Gu Qingshan and Lola. Looking down from above, one could only see the black torrents converging to form an ocean, completely surrounding Gu Qingshan and Lola. The space was getting smaller and smaller, the two of them were about to be swallowed by the horde of monsters. Break through, Gu Qingshan, this battle is a test of our ability to break through. Lola hurriedly reminded. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything. He casually formed a hand seal. The spirit energy in his dantian was surging. After becoming a sainted realm late-stage cultivator, Gu Qingshan hadn't used her full power for a very long time. 3 swords appeared from the void of space. The first sword was ancient and full of vicissitudes of life. The second sword had a strange shape and appeared to be very long. The third sword was as beautiful as the autumn water. Go, Gu Qingshan muttered. The 3 swords disappeared. They shuttled between the sky and the earth at an extremely fast speed, leaving behind a series of stagnant sword shadows. Each of the sword images stopped in the void of space, not moving at all. The 3 swords moved faster and faster, until all that could be seen was a black shadow that flashed by and disappeared. The entire desolate city was filled with densely packed sword shadows. Everything happened too quickly. The monsters only managed to take a few steps before all the sword images landed where they were supposed to land. Strangely, even though these sword images covered the entire city, the monsters didn't take any damage at all as they passed through them. "What is this?" Lola asked in surprise. Gu Qingshan sighed and activated the hand seal. Tai Sword Array, activate. A light breeze blew. No one knew where the wind came from, but it blew into the city and suddenly turned into a fierce gale. There was nothing that could stop the wind from blowing. All the monsters disappeared in the wind. The giant pile of corpses seemed to have been erased by something invisible. They didn't even know what happened before they died. The strong wind howled and swept across the entire land, carrying everything that was spiraling up into the sky, blowing away the thick, leaden clouds above the entire city. The snow stopped. The clear blue sky appeared above the city. The sun appeared. Its warm sunlight shone upon the entire city, making everyone feel warm. And so a miraculous scene occurred. Inside the city walls, the sunlight illuminated the entire city. Outside the city walls, the snowstorm continued. This miraculous scene lasted for over a dozen breaths worth of time before it slowly faded away. In the end, even the four sides of the city walls were blown away by the wind. In this wind, the entire city was blown away, leaving behind a vast expanse of snow. The wind stopped. The dark clouds gathered once again. The world returned to its somber and gloomy state. Snowflakes fluttered down from the sky. It was only now that Gu Qingshan dispelled the hand seal. Lola stood up from Gu Qingshan's shoulder and looked around. Within her field of vision, besides the snow and the ground, everything else was erased by the intense sword-infused wind. The world was vast. Snowflakes lightly drifted down. Both the city and the ghosts were gone. A vast expanse of white, how clean, Lola sighed. I didn't think you'd put in so much effort. She was silently surprised, thinking that this Gu Qingshan really did have some skill. A single strike wiped out an entire city. This level of swordsmanship was enough to make him one of the best among the newcomers under 30 within the 900 million world layers. No wonder Iron Fist Bali also took him in. We don't have much time, I just want to finish this battle as soon as possible. Gu Qingshan scowled. He focused his mind. The three flying swords immediately flew back and landed in the void behind him, quietly hovering there. Gu Qingshan was annoyed. We've passed this round, right? Why isn't there anything to judge yet? Lola silently observed him and noticed something. Are you worried about her? Lola asked. I don't know how she's doing, and I don't know if we'll be able to catch up to her with our speed. Gu Qingshan sighed. Lola understood. So he was just trying to save time. What kind of girl is she to be treated like this? Lola was a bit curious. She stared at Gu Qingshan and suddenly asked, Have you slept with her yet? Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised but still answered, We haven't, so pure? How did you do it? Little girl, what do you know? Gu Qingshan turned his face away, silently recalling Su Share's kiss. At the time, he had no choice but to pretend to be asleep, not even moving. Thinking that, he couldn't help but sigh. Chapter 594. As Gu Qingshan sensed something, he turned around and found that all three of his swords were trembling. Noticing his gaze, the Earth Sword and Six Paths Great Mountain Sword stopped moving. The Chao Yin sword didn't notice that Gu Qingshan was still trembling. The Earth Sword hit at once. What are you doing? Gu Qingshan was surprised. Discussing tactics, Shanu's voice came from the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. She seemed a bit nervous. The Earth Sword solemnly replied, That's right, that strike just now was very powerful, so we're thinking about how to cooperate. Gu Qingshan turned around. The three swords all sighed in relief. Standing on Gu Qingshan's shoulder, Lola looked around. Within the howling blizzard, her vision was greatly limited. This restriction seemed to originate from some sort of origin law of the world. No matter how skilled you are, you can't see very far with your eyes alone. Lola thought for a bit, then took out a small backpack from her back. She searched inside for a bit and randomly took out a pair of binoculars. Lola used the binoculars to look far away. "It's the same everywhere, there are even cliffs and monsters," she loudly said. "I don't know which direction to go, right now, we can only wait for directions," Gu Qingshan said. While they were talking, a flash of light could be seen flickering in the middle of the frozen wasteland. The flash of light flickered here and there until it turned into a pillar of light that reached all the way to the sky, then stopped moving. This was a clear indicator of where to go. "Sit tight, let's go," Gu Qingshan said. Lola obediently sat down on Gu Qingshan's shoulder. Gu Qingshan's body moved and flew towards the direction the light was pointing at. The two of them were moving forward on the frozen wasteland. Occasionally, some large monsters would jump out from the snow. Gu Qingshan was in a hurry, so he didn't hold back at all, killing a monster with each strike. Spirit energy surged around him. Gu Qingshan was flying as close to the ground as he could. He was moving as fast as he could to where the light was coming from. This place was a cliff. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to check the bottom of the cliff, but still couldn't reach the bottom. Within the range of his inner sight, all he could see were steep cliffs covered in snow. At this point, a voice came. "You did very well, so you've received the best qualification. Directly skipped all the other tests and arrived at Trist's official reward mission," the voice continued to narrate. "A group of powerful monsters is about to appear. They've always been hiding in the ice abyss, only appearing when Trist isn't paying attention to cause destruction. This is a small problem, but it's enough to make Trist feel annoyed. You who have answered the bramble birds, please help the bramble bird Trist resolve this small problem. For you who are under 30 years old, this will be you will it will be that you will, you, the bramble Shan." After that, the voice disappeared. "The mountain. This is the summoning of the bramble birds?" "Gu Shan Qing Shan," Ling said. "Shan, gu. "Yes, this is a normal process of the bramble bird's call," Laura answered. Gu Qingshan looked down into the icy abyss. There were a lot of clumsy monsters in the abyss. Their bodies were transparent, so you could see their strange internal organs. But those organs looked like they were made from ice and rock, large and crude. These monsters were climbing up the cliff. Their speed was very fast, and it did not match their size at all. "It's a snow fiend," Lola said. "What's a snow fiend?" Gu Qingshan asked. "A type of semi-elemental monster that's very hard to kill," Lola explained. "Rocks and ice can heal their wounds quickly, because they were originally made from these elements." Looking at the monsters that were becoming clearer and clearer in the abyss, Gu Qingshan silently scowled. According to what the voice said, this type of monster should be quite strong, so cooperation is needed. Not to mention that they aren't easy to kill. The best way to deal with them all at once is to use the Tai sword array. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan immediately said, "It's okay, I'll deal with them." He activated his sword hand seal. All three swords pointed at the icy abyss, exuding killing intent at the same time. They had prepared themselves. "Wait a minute," Lola said. What is it?" "If you keep attacking at full power like this, you'll consume too much energy. Let me help you. Didn't you say you couldn't fight?" "I'll take out the item, you do it." Lola once again took out the small backpack on her back. She opened the backpack and searched through it. "Where exactly is it?" Gu Qingshan looked at Lola, then at the monsters in the abyss. After waiting for a few moments, he couldn't help but say, "We don't have much time." "Found it," Lola joyfully said. She put something in Gu Qingshan's hand. When Gu Qingshan saw it, he saw that it was a pistol. It was a delicate silver pistol, very cute and small, not even as big as Gu Qingshan's palm. Gu Qingshan tried it and found that she could barely pull the trigger. "A pistol? This is for self-defense. Unfortunately, there's only one bullet left. Will this be useful?" "Try it and you'll know." Gu Qingshan silently shook her head. "Don't be ridiculous, there's only one bullet left. Can it kill a monster? She's still a little girl after all." As Gu Qingshan was about to return the pistol to Lola, she suddenly realized something. Miao once said that any item from the mystic zones is priceless. The boiling magma flowed slowly. The mountain rocks were burned red, and large patches of ice and snow sank into the lava, instantly turning into rising mist and evaporating. The snow fiend had already melted into nothingness. The entire icy abyss had turned into a lake of magma. Watching this magnificent scene, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, "This is the last bullet?" "Yes." "What a pity!" Chapter 595. On the frozen wasteland. The snowstorm howled. In the middle of the vast expanse of white frost, there was a section of land that gave off a sky-high glow. Gu Qingshan and Lola stood at the edge of the cliff, waiting for the quest to end. "Why hasn't it confirmed that we've completed the quest yet?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Normally, it would take a bit more time to confirm. Don't be hasty," Lola replied. While they were talking, they seemed to have sensed something and went silent, only to see that the lava lake below was still rippling. Following that, a strange object floated to the surface of the lava. At a glance, it looked like a complete pine cone, about the size of a small boat that could fit 3 to 5 people. Being soaked by the lava, the mud and dirt on the cone's surface slowly melted away, revealing a mysterious pattern on the shell. From the looks of it, this large shell was originally hidden at the bottom of the ice abyss, guarded by countless snow fiends. If it weren't for the legendary gun, Divine Bird of Flames Phoenix playing its role and destroying the entire ice abyss, no one would have found this fruit. "What exactly is this?" Gu Qingshan asked. "A frost fruit." Lola had a strange expression on her face. "This is a fruit from a treasure tree in the mystic zones. It likes to hide in cold places. It can isolate its presence and resist all detection. Its only weakness is that it's afraid of heat." "No wonder it floated up," Gu Qingshan nodded. "What a coincidence! If it weren't for the gun, this fruit would have continued to hide." While they were talking, the fruit couldn't stay still in the lava anymore. The surface of the fruit started to crack. Crack! The sound of something breaking could be heard. The fruit broke into many pieces. An ice crystal feather that gave off a chilling presence appeared in front of them. It was propped up by a piece of broken fruit shell. For a moment it had not come into contact with the boiling lava. As soon as this feather appeared, the lava around it was quickly extinguished. Large amounts of lava froze into gray-black rock. But this ice crystal feather had to fight against the entire lava lake. It wasn't strong enough. The feather started to shake. All of a sudden, a faint 5-colored glow appeared on the surface of the ice crystal feather. Lola's expression changed. She had already recognized the feather. "Quick, save it!" Lola screamed. "All right." Gu Qingshan activated the telekinesis spell, stood on the cliff and waved her hand. The frost feather flew into his hand. The chill was bone-piercing. A thin layer of frost crawled up his fingers and spread up his arms. Gu Qingshan used her spiritual power to temporarily resist the frost. This level of ice elemental power did not pose a threat to him. However, this was merely a feather, yet it possessed such power. Thinking about it carefully, he couldn't help but feel surprised. Gu Qingshan squinted her eyes, carefully observing the ice crystal feather. There was a faint trace of blood on the feather. The feather left the lava lake, and the layer of colorful light surrounding it weakened a little. Lola heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Gu Qingshan acted in time. Otherwise, under the stimulation of the lava, the aura of the feather would have been completely exposed. Still not feeling assured, she chanted an incantation on the ice crystal feather. Slowly, the light on the ice crystal feather was absorbed back into the feather. The feather returned to normal. "Ho! I've hidden its presence, Trieste won't be able to discover its existence," Lola sighed in relief. Gu Qingshan silently waited for her to finish before asking, "What is this?" Lola's expression was a mixture of sadness and confusion. This is the feather of Ilya of the Frost of the Cold Night. Seems like she used to hide here, Lola muttered. She's someone you know? Yes, Ilya of the Frost of the Cold Night and Triest of the Light of Dawn, they were the two strongest people of the Bramble Birds. The Light of Dawn was in charge of security. She was in charge of all the guards of the royal family, in charge of all matters of safety. Triest took advantage of the fact that we left the kingdom and came to a bull to kill all of my family members and sealed off the news. What about Frost of the Cold Night? She was in charge of all external warfare matters of the Bramble Bird Kingdom. Gu Qingshan realized the importance of this and raised his eyebrows in surprise. The entire army is under her command? He asked. Yes, why would she be here? Lola shook her head. I'm not sure either. Originally, when we left, Triest was in charge of all security matters, while Ilya was in charge of defending the country. So why would her feather appear here? Lola also fell into deep doubt. What exactly is going on? Gu Qingshan was quickly thinking. I'll try to push it a bit, see if I'm right, he said. Very well, Lola replied. There's blood on the feather, seems like she was injured, correct, since she hid the feather, she was obviously afraid that Triest would find her. Lola nodded. The feathers of a bramble bird still contain immense power even after they shed them. If that's the case, she must have been injured in the outside world before being able to enter this world. How do you know she was injured in the outside world? Lola asked. Because if she was injured in this world, it would mean that she had fought here. But I remember you saying that in a bramble bird world, other bramble birds can't leak their presence, otherwise they would be found out. From this, it can be deduced that she hadn't fought here, so her injuries must have been outside. That's right, Lola confirmed. Gu Qingshan continued thinking and quickly said, obviously, her sharp senses had noticed something, or perhaps she found out some secret information and became suspicious of Triest. That's why she came here. But she was too late. Triest had already succeeded. Of the entire royal family, only you managed to escape. I believe that she only needed to ask around a bit to find out that Her Royal Highness the Princess had gone missing. Gu Qingshan looked at Lola and quickly said, your parents were both replaced by impostors, and you went missing. Frost of the Cold Night Ilya would definitely investigate this. Even the spirit of the holy tree couldn't find your whereabouts. That's why Frost of the Cold Night couldn't find you either, so she had no choice but to come to Triest's collection world, to see if she could find you, as well as find out why Triest betrayed the royal family. Gu Qingshan thought about it from start to finish and nodded. That should be the case. After listening to this string of words, Laura was stunned for a while. She felt that this person in front of her was a bit scary. Fortunately, he was a member of the Justice Iron Fist Club. No wonder, Lola muttered in a low voice. No wonder I was able to seal this world so easily. It turns out the protective spells that Triest cast on the outer layer of this world had already been broken by Ilya. How laughable that I thought I was lucky to be able to seal this world. You made it so that Triest couldn't find this world, while she made it so that Triest didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. She did it much better, Gu Qingshan praised. While saying that, Gu Qingshan fell into thought again. He suddenly asked, Frost of the Cold Night Ilya, is she loyal to the royal family? She is my godmother. She once swore to the Saint Bramble Tree to protect me. What about Triest? She swore to become stronger, to protect everything that is worth protecting. How sly. Then what will happen to someone who goes against the Saint Tree's oath? The Saint Tree will absorb all of the bramble bird's mana. Gu Qingshan clapped her hand and said, that's good enough. It seems Frost of the Cold Night is on our side. If we can find her, our chances of winning against Triest will be much higher. When? Lola froze. From the beginning of the calamity until now, she only had a single thought in her mind. That is, the bramble bird royal bloodline cannot be cut off. I have to stay alive, I have to escape. But this man, as soon as he saw a single feather, he was already thinking of turning the tables. Really, Lola couldn't help but feel that she didn't know how to view this at all. At this point, the voice from before finally spoke up. This quest has been concluded. You have done very well, perfectly completing the first official quest. If you can continue to do this well from now on, you will receive a generous reward after completing all quests. And here I thought the reward would be given right now, Gu Qingshan muttered. The voice continued. The second round. The landing battle is about to begin, please wait for 1 minute. Gu Qingshan and Lola both waited. At this point, the war god UI changed a bit. Since she had some free time, Gu Qingshan stared at the UI, reading the glowing text that kept popping up. Chapter 596. As Gu Qingshan stared at this line of text on the war god UI, she held her breath. World's Apocalypse Online. Even though I've gained the status of kindling, I've finally met it again in this life. As if to express caution, the line of glowing text once again appeared on the war god UI. This time it had turned blood red in color. Special reminder. The war god system has detected World's Apocalypse Online's kindling. Following that, another line of blood red text appeared. Kindling has detected a new member such as yourself. You have entered the evaluation system of World's Apocalypse Online. Kindling. There is no time to leave this world now. Please pretend that you don't know about this for now. The war god system will analyze the situation further. As soon as Gu Qingshan finished reading this line of text, before she could do anything, another voice resounded in her ears. The call of the bramble birds. This was the voice that issued the bramble bird quest after she arrived in this world. Based on your current location, the direction of travel has been determined. It continued. Its tone was exactly the same as when it issued the quest before. Please travel 63 kilometers towards the southeast direction. You will receive the next quest. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. The war god system and Triest's quest alternated. The situation had developed far beyond his expectations. Everything was filled with unknown variables. Behind the seemingly calm state of things, there was the most dangerous situation he had ever been in since his return. And under such circumstances, it was already too late for him to leave. Gu Qingshan shook her head. Even if he could, he wouldn't do that. To find Shui Er's whereabouts, he has to follow Triest's quest. Let's go, Gu Qingshan said. Alright, but why do you look a bit nervous? Lola asked. I'm a bit excited, Gu Qingshan replied. The two of them turned into a blurry figure, leaping over the cliff and headed towards the southeast direction of the frozen wasteland. A few moments later, they arrived at the designated location. In front of Gu Qingshan and Lola was a land filled with gray fog. Neither sight nor divine sense could penetrate it. Standing at the edge of the mist, Gu Qingshan asked Lola, Have you ever seen a place like this? Yes, this is a world formed by another dimension, Lola said after sensing for a while. Looking at Gu Qingshan's confused expression, she explained. In some other dimensional spaces, there are many worlds that have never been discovered. These worlds were originally in the mystic zones. Apart from the beings of the mystic zones, the beings of other zones rarely see such worlds. These worlds are all in a gray fog state? No, the gray fog was Triest's spell. It was to stabilize this world and prevent it from clashing with the outside world, conflict. Yeah, a world in another world will more or less produce some rejection and conflict. Lola sighed and continued. Who would have thought Triest hid a mystic zones world within her own world? While they were talking, the call of the bramble birds came again. The new mission is ready. And now you are qualified to solve Triest's problems. Within the gray fog, there is a 600-story skyscraper, ho! Following the voice's explanation, Gu Qingshan was lifted up. The wind whistled as he stood on a piece of sparkling ice and snow, quickly ascending into the sky. A few dozen seconds later, Gu Qingshan finally stopped at a certain spot in the sky. At this point, he had already broken through the thick layer of clouds and was once again bathed in sunlight. Gu Qingshan looked down. The chunk of ice under his feet was very slippery, even he couldn't move. Fortunately, the chunk of ice was flying very stably. It carried Gu Qingshan into the gray fog. The fog temporarily blocked their vision, but quickly became clear again. Gu Qingshan saw the 600-story skyscraper. From the outside, this skyscraper already looked very strange. There was a part of it that was made entirely of wood, giving it an antique and charming feel. After a few dozen floors, there was another part that was made entirely of metal and alloy, occasionally displaying holographic images that displayed various data and information. There were also some floors that looked like a castle. There were also floors made entirely of bricks, floors made entirely of ice, floors made entirely of gems, floors made entirely of gold, and so on. There were a total of 600 floors. Just the appearance alone was enough to make one dizzy. What a strange skyscraper, Gu Qingshan asked. No, this is a world of its own, Lola replied. She grabbed Gu Qingshan's shoulder tightly. What's the matter? Gu Qingshan asked. I'm a bit afraid of heights, Lola replied. Gu Qingshan hugged her, leapt off the chunk of ice and landed at the top of the 600-story skyscraper. Standing at the edge of the skyscraper, he looked around. The blue sky stretched as far as the eye could see. The sunlight was perfect. Unfortunately, this was a world of slaughter. The Demon King Order was hiding here. Most likely, a lot of fresh blood had already been used to irrigate the Demon King Order. Let's go a bit further in, we can't just stand at the edge, it's too scary, Lola said. Gu Qingshan then walked to the middle of the building. Lola jumped out of his embrace, climbed onto his shoulder, and sat down comfortably. At this point, the voice came again. Begin quest description. This quest is very simple. When you reach the ground after passing 600 floors, you will have completed this quest. Special note, you cannot fly down from the outside of the skyscraper, that would be considered slacking and you will not receive Trist's reward. Quest officially begins. The voice went away. A door appeared below Gu Qingshan's feet. A number was written on the door, 600. Seems like I'll have to go down floor by floor. I wonder if there's an elevator for sightseeing, that would be a lot faster. Gu Qingshan silently thought as she held the earth sword in her hand, preparing to open the door. Ting! All of a sudden, a clear chime could be heard. A few lines of glowing white text appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. Congratulations, you have been chosen by heaven to be a pioneer. This is a gift from the Bramblebirds. Please confirm to load the system. Following that, an option popped up. Confirm/reject. This was the same option that Su Cher saw before. Kindling, without any warning, appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. Looking at the option, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but chuckle. This is kindling? Or is this World's Apocalypse Online? This method is completely different from the past life. Such a simple method of seduction, aren't you looking down on me a bit too much? Gu Qingshan muttered. Right at this time, the war god UI that had been silent for a while suddenly displayed a line of bright red text. Attention! World's Apocalypse Online. Kindling has descended. The war god system has considered and weighed the pros and cons. Please make your choice at this historic moment. Choice 1. Give up on the quest and choose a place to hide. 2 days later, when the all-out war erupts, the system will transport you away. Your fate will be as Su Cher predicted. A few years later, you will become a top-tier combatant of the 900 million world layers. Choice 2. Find Su Cher, try to save her before leaving. That way, the dangers that she took from you will return to you. From then on, your fate will once again be shrouded in mystery, and in future battles, you will most likely run into even more dangers. Special reminder. This is a choice that cannot be undone because the all-out war is about to erupt. As soon as you make your choice, the war god UI will make a corresponding system adjustment based on your choice. Please think about it carefully and make your choice seriously. Gu Qingshan looked at the two choices on the UI and fell silent. What should I choose? I should probably choose the second choice. But this choice made Gu Qingshan feel unspeakably frustrated. He couldn't help but sigh. War God System, can you give me another choice? He silently asked in his mind. Ting! A clear chime came. The War God System asked. There are already two choices. The system can guarantee that these are the most suitable choices for the current situation. Let's make another choice, since it's the first time I made such a request. Gu Qingshan smiled. What other choice do you want? The system asked. I want to eliminate kindling. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then continued. That's right, this is killing two birds with one stone. As long as I eliminate kindling, Su Share will be safe, and my revenge from my past life will be avenged, the War God System explained. According to the system's strategic assessment, this is the most difficult goal to achieve. Even a moment of carelessness will cause you to die, or become demonized. Then, according to your assessment, do I have any hope of achieving this goal? The chances are slim to none. Then there's hope, Gu Qingshan continued. If there's hope, then I'll eliminate it. The system went silent for a few moments, then asked. In truth, you don't need to do this much. Why do you insist on making this choice? Because this is something that I must do, must do? Yes, saying so, Gu Qingshan sighed. He stared blankly at the empty void of space, seemingly lost in some sort of emotion. At this moment, his gaze seemed to have pierced through time and space, looking back at the past. The people who fought side by side with him, wave after wave. The people who couldn't see any hope, hugging each other and crying in the darkness. The people who followed him all the way until the very end. Although I was an orphan, during the final moments of my past life, I didn't feel lonely at all. Gu Qingshan's tone was low and resolute. Ever since my return, I've always understood that I'm not living for myself alone. There are some things that, when they happen again, you know that you have to face them and overcome them. That's right, I want justice for everyone. Saying what he wanted to say, he exhaled deeply and continued. Then, can you give me another option? That way I'll be able to fight to my heart's content. If you can't give me another option, then I'll throw everything away and fight kindling by myself. I'll do my best. The system silently listened. It went silent for a breath's worth of time. Suddenly, new lines of blood-red text appeared on the War God UI. You are a true man who fights through fire and blood. Your decisions will surely break through the obstruction of fate. Whether it's life or death, you are worthy of this system's title. Your choice has proven that you are worthy of the title of War God. The system has completed the necessary adjustments. From today onwards, Destiny quests will be cancelled. In 3 seconds, the quest system will be updated. 3. Chapter 597. The Destiny quest has been cancelled. The War God quest is now live. Gu Qingshan looked at the War God UI doubtfully. Are there any differences between the two quests? A new icon lit up at the bottom of the War God UI. This icon was behind War God skills. War God Thaumaturgy, War God Title, and Doomsday Chronicles, becoming the 5th icon to light up. Interestingly, this icon was different from the others. It depicted Gu Qingshan wielding a sword in battle. Following Gu Qingshan's gaze, a line of text appeared above the icon. A new choice has been created and chosen. Your choice has been accepted by the system. The system's corresponding adjustments have been completed. From now on, wherever your sword points will be the system's quest target. The system will set a different soul points usage state for each War God quest according to the actual situation. To assist you in this War God quest, you've obtained the soul points usage state. Ready. Whenever you gain a certain amount of soul points, you can choose a skill to double the power of your next attack. After you've used Ready once, the skill's power will return to normal. A description. Ready consumes a certain amount of soul points. The stronger the skill, the more soul points it consumes. A special note. Ready can be stacked. Reading the description of ready, Gu Qingshan thought for a bit and understood. He couldn't help but silently praise it. This really is a killer move. If I'm constantly in the ready state, I'll be able to multiply the power of a certain skill. But the key point is that as I gain more soul points, this multiplying effect can be stacked. This way, the power of a certain skill that I choose will gradually become more and more terrifying. The only unfortunate thing is that this attack can only be used once before the skill returns to normal. While Gu Qingshan was thinking, the War God quest icon at the bottom of the UI glowed. The first War God quest has appeared. This was a quest created according to Gu Qingshan's own will. Lines of blood-red text appeared on the War God UI. This time's War God quest's objective is to eliminate kindling. For this mission, the system has provided the following mission description. This is the first time you've faced the Demon King Order since your rebirth. Fortunately, it hasn't been fully born yet. World's Apocalypse Online is still in its kindling state. At this time, it is at its weakest and most primitive state, and it has yet to be activated. It needs to gather enough soul power to completely ignite its kindling and level up. This is World's Apocalypse Online. Kindling, due to your outstanding performance in the first act, kindling will soon find you. It needs you to collect soul energy for it. What strategy do you have to deal with kindling? Gu Qingshan asked. Adapt to the situation. The system will issue consecutive missions for Tinder based on its specific situation to complete the final mission objective. Please remember, the purpose of the fire seed is to collect soul energy. We must not let it collect enough soul energy. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask, if a kindling gathers enough soul points, what will happen? Kindling will level up. World's Apocalypse Online. Origin will officially launch. The 30 million world layers around a bowl will be enveloped by the World's Apocalypse Online. Origin, countless worlds will be forced to accept its enslavement. Origin? What's that? Just like your past life, Gu Qingshan squinted his eyes. He thought for a bit and said, Origin, the living beings within can become stronger by killing the demons, but they will never be able to reach a certain level of strength, is that right? No, it's actually the demons who kill living beings to level up, but at the same time, living beings will be enslaved by the Demon King Order, unable to reach a certain level of strength to fight against the demons. If that's the case, it'll be a one-sided massacre. Some of the demons might die at the start, but they'll be the ones to win in the end. Gu Qingshan closed his eyes and thought for a bit, then said, I understand. The War God system continued. We will use a series of quests to continuously fight against kindling, until we finally kill it. This is this time's War God quest. After completing the War God quest, you'll receive a gift from the system. What kind of gift? A secret. Gu Qingshan smiled. He suddenly asked, War God system, you know so many things and have so many secrets, where did you come from? The system replied, when a living being is too weak, the more they know, the more dangerous it will be for them. Gu Qingshan agreed with this. He didn't ask any further. Gu Qingshan finally retracted his gaze and looked at the chat window in front of him. Congratulations, you've been chosen by heaven to be the pioneer. This is a gift from the Bramblebirds. Please confirm to load the system. Confirm/reject. Because he didn't receive any response from Gu Qingshan, the chat window was still hovering there. Perhaps because he waited for too long, a new line of glowing text appeared. Frowny face in 15 seconds. The Wu kindling system will be automatically loaded. Reading this line of glowing text, Gu Qingshan understood. In the past life, the world he came into contact with was World's Apocalypse Online. Origin. Kindling was the original program of Origin. In order to upgrade it to Origin, it had come to my side. Gu Qingshan held his sword tightly. Without hesitation, he said, I reject. A new line of glowing white text appeared. Frowny face, please state your reason for rejecting. Gu Qingshan was stunned. Before he could react, another line of glowing text appeared. From now on, if you refuse to load the kindling system without any reason, you will not receive any rewards from the bramble birds. Because of that, please state your reason for rejecting. Gu Qingshan scowled. He originally wanted to say no reason, but he couldn't. This kindling seems to have quite the temper. Was it always like this, or did someone piss it off? Gu Qingshan naturally didn't know that Su Cher had used no reason to reject kindling. That was why the kindling had changed its strategy. And now Gu Qingshan had to find a reason to reject it, otherwise he wouldn't be able to continue with the Bramblebird's missions. What kind of reason should I find? After a bit of hesitation, Gu Qingshan finally came up with an official reason. Staring at the glowing text in front of him, he answered with a serious expression. I can't read. The white text on the screen trembled. This reason seemed to cause more damage than no reason. At this point, the war god UI suddenly lit up. A line of glowing text appeared on it. You can load kindling, Gu Qingshan hesitantly said. It will use. That's fine, as long as you don't give it soul points. The war god UI continued. If you don't load kindling, it will come up with countless ways to deal with you. If I load it, it won't deal with me? Over 100 million people have carried it, so once you accept it, it will no longer pay attention to you, Gu Qingshan asked. Will it affect you? It's still a newborn, I'm not afraid of it. Hearing such a firm answer from the war god UI, Gu Qingshan also straightened his back. He hurriedly shouted at the glowing white text in the air, Wait a minute! Just as the densely packed white words were about to retreat, they were pulled back by his shout. All the white text disappeared, replaced by a large question mark in the air. Gu Qingshan questioned it. What kind of attitude is that? You're running away because I can't read? The question mark trembled. Obviously, it had never been in such a situation before. Kindling didn't know how to react. Gu Qingshan helplessly asked, Don't you know how to use voice? The question mark suddenly disappeared. A voice resounded. Congratulations, you've been chosen by heaven to be the pioneer. This is a gift from the Bramblebirds. Please confirm to load the system. Confirm. Following Gu Qingshan's choice, something seemed to have happened. He stared closely at the void of space in front of him. The war god UI turned into a transparent blue screen and shrunk in size. A bright red UI appeared next to it. This was an extremely simple, or perhaps even crude UI. Couldn't even compare to World's Apocalypse Online, Origin in the past life. This meant that the true World's Apocalypse Online hadn't been fully activated yet. A line of text appeared on the war god UI. Chapter 598. A line of text appeared on the war god UI. It's here, but it doesn't know I'm here, so you need to act as if it's the only one here. Gu Qingshan quickly skimmed through and silently replied in his mind, Don't worry, I can still do that. He stared at the void of space in front of him. The war god UI was a cold light blue, while the kindling UI was a thick blood red. Two systems appeared on his body at the same time. This was something he had never experienced before in his 2 lives. Even more miraculously, one of the systems didn't know about the other's existence. As time passed, the text on the war god UI slowly faded away. A line of text appeared on the kindling UI. World's Apocalypse Online. Kindling has been successfully loaded. Congratulations, you have officially become a forerunner. Gu Qingshan pretended not to see it and excitedly asked, So many words, what are you saying? The kindling UI. It was now that he realized he made a mistake. Another line of text appeared on the war god UI. Your expression is a bit exaggerated. Gu Qingshan cleared his throat, realizing that he used too much force and deviated from the norm. His expression relaxed a bit. That's right, he had 2 systems on him, and he still had to kill one of them. Gu Qingshan was feeling a bit nervous. Gu Qingshan lowered his voice and asked the kindling UI, Just now you said that I'm a foreigner chosen by God, then what use do you have for me? Lines of text quickly appeared on the kindling UI. It paused stiffly for a moment, and all the words retracted. A kindling just remembered this person can't read. Very quickly, a voice replaced the text. From this moment onwards, kindling will replace Triest and personally issue you quests. Then, can I still get a reward? Gu Shan appeared worried. Of course you can, only the most excellent participants will be guided by the system to complete quests. You will receive a reward that far surpasses everyone else. Kindling replied. Liar, most people already carry you, Gu Shan silently thought. He asked, what should I do? I came here to get a reward in the first place, and next, you only need to collect soul power during the mission. You can use soul power to exchange for the corresponding reward from the system, Kindling said. Is that so? What are the rewards? Gu Shan asked. The interface of the Tinder changed. Many dazzling rewards appeared on the interface. Because he was a swordsman, many swords first appeared on the interface. Even with Gu Shan's strong willpower, her heart still palpitated when she saw it. His gaze fell on a few of the swords, and he did not look away for a moment. He recognized it. It was something from a bull's resort, Infinity World's town. Most of these swords belonged to that shop that specialized in selling weapons. Seems like Abris already belongs to Triest. Gu Shan sighed. He continued to adjust the interface and looked back. It really had everything. Gu Shan not only saw the fairy's crystal flower, but also the demon god that could be exchanged for with soul power. There were even all kinds of extremely powerful secret cultivation methods. Gu Shan could not help but think about them. But all of these rare items were extremely expensive. In order to exchange for these rewards, one would have to pay an astronomical amount of soul point. This was only natural. Even combatants like Iron Fist, Bali and Meow couldn't find the fairy's crystal flower. While the old man from the Spire Keeper Association clung onto Bali's leg as soon as he got off the ship, wanting to smell if it was the fairy's crystal flower. They were all powerful entities, but they couldn't even get their hands on such precious items. Because of that, there were a lot of things on the kindling SUI that could easily cause a storm of blood if taken out. Because these were all things that people yearned for even in their dreams. If it was a newcomer who didn't know anything, they would definitely do everything in their power to collect soul points in order to obtain these precious items. Some people would struggle and hesitate, but more people would go on a rampage to collect enough soul points to exchange for a kindling treasures. Gu Shan's heart tightened. Kindling had so many precious treasures, those who entered would have already fallen into a frenzy of killing each other. Kindling's total amount of soul points was quickly increasing. How do I collect soul points? Gu Shan quickly asked. Kindling answered. When a living being dies, their soul points will automatically be collected by you. Yes, as the pioneer of heaven, you will obtain great rewards through slaughter, so that's how it is. Kindling continued. I trust that this is something that you're very familiar with. How do you know? I can sense it. The number of living beings that have died at your hands far exceeds the number of bloodthirsty true demons. You are a very outstanding seeded player. You have great potential. Please follow me to conquer the infinite worlds and trample over the 900 million outer worlds. Gu Shan was surprised. That's right, I've fought for so long I've killed without fear. Whether it's the cultivation world, Shun Wu world, or even Huang Quan, as long as I act, I've never held back. In the yellow springs of the underworld, trillions of dead people were directly killed by him. Seems like kindling can sense that my hands are stained with the blood of trillions of living beings. That's why it's telling me so much. It feels like I'm an excellent candidate to be demonized. At this point, kindling continued. A new quest has been issued. Within the 600-story skyscraper below your feet, there are still countless inferior, backward, and useless people who wish to obtain the bramble bird's reward, but are unable to move forward at this stage. Go, kill them all and bring back soul points. With soul points, you can exchange them for rewards from me at any time. After saying so, Kindling's voice disappeared. At the same time, the war god UI lit up. This is quite interesting. A blue UI and a red UI were alternately communicating with Gu Qingshan. What do you plan to do? The war god UI asked. Gu Qingshan answered without hesitation. If I don't give it soul points, will it be able to steal them from me? With me here, it won't be able to, then there's no problem. Following this, we'll kill those who need to be killed, save those who need to be saved. In short, we won't let a kindling accumulate any soul points. As soon as he said so, lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. This War God quest is a chain quest. The chain quest has been prepared. You must complete all the quests and stop kindling from leveling up in order to receive the final reward. First quest details. The system has marked another demonized candidate for you. He is currently on the 239th floor. What is he doing? He's doing what kindling requested. Gu Qingshan nodded. That person must be looking for a chance to kill. Kill him, then reach the surface. The first quest will be completed. Please name this mission. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised, thought for a bit, then said, Flying Bird. The war god UI immediately replied. The first quest, Flying Bird, has been issued. The quest has been assigned. The lines of glowing text on the war god UI also faded away. The void of space was cleared. Both systems went silent. Gu Qingshan drew her sword and looked at the door. This is the moment of battle. As Gu Qingshan was about to activate her sword seal to open the door, Lola stopped her. What's the matter? Gu Qingshan asked. This is for you, Lola said. She gave Gu Qingshan a bronze monocular. She had used this monocular once before. Thank you. Gu Qingshan received the monocular. Lines of glowing text appeared on the War God UI. Long lens, wondrous item, function. Perform various levels of X-ray vision according to your will. Attention. Any treasure that comes from the mystic zones will automatically receive the title of wondrous item. Above the miraculous items are the epic items. The rarer treasures are called the legendary items. Although the description of this monocular was very simple, Gu Qingshan was already shocked. He weighed the monocular in his hand. A heavy, cold feeling came from his hand. Raising the monocular, Gu Qingshan looked at the door. Chapter 599. Through the monocular, Gu Qingshan saw the situation inside the door. Snakes. A snake nest. As far as Gu Qingshan could see, there was nothing but a sea of intertwining snakes. The number of snakes piled up in the room was enough to make anyone's scalp go numb. Strangely, these snakes seemed to be sentient. They were coiled together, craning their necks as they stared coldly at the door. As if waiting for the door to open, they would rush out and swallow anyone who tried to enter. These snakes were quite unique. Various elemental powers appeared on their bodies. Ice, fire, lightning, wind, darkness, poison. The various elemental powers weaved together to create a chaotic whirlpool of power. As soon as the door opened, the intruder would be sucked into the whirlpool. If the intruder wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to escape from being devoured by the snakes. This would be a very troublesome battle. Gu Qingshan extended the monocular a bit. The room on the next floor appeared in the monocular. A group of wraiths were fighting over a corpse. They were fighting each other without showing any signs of weakness. The corpse was half-eaten, obviously a young human who participated in the call of the bramble bird. Through this room, Gu Qingshan saw another room full of running flaming bulls. His vision went from the 600th floor all the way to the 550th floor. There were a few real demons here, chasing after two men and a woman. While running, they were toying with each other. The difference in strength between them was too great. If the two men and woman didn't have a holy silver cross in their hands, they would have already been killed by the demons. But at this rate, the power of the cross would run out sooner or later. After a while, they would be killed by the demons and their soul points would be used up by kindling. This isn't Trist's little problem, this is mine, Gu Qing-shan muttered. Recalling the war god Ui quest, Gu Qing-shan adjusted the monocular to look through a few hundred floors to the 239th floor. There was a demonized person on this floor. Only to see sand moving back and forth in the room like a tidal wave. The sand was burning bright red, as if it contained intense heat that caused the air around it to twist. Other than that, there seemed to be nothing else. However, through the binoculars, Gu Qing-shan saw a man lurking in the deepest part of the quicksand. That person was hugging a snow-white longsword, standing motionlessly at the bottom of the quicksand. Coincidentally, a door opened above the desert. A young man holding a scimitar jumped out from the door. "Haha, I've finally advanced another level," he laughed. Without a sound, a glimmer thinner than silk brushed past his body. The young man's body stiffened. He fell headfirst into the desert, his body split into two in midair. Zing! A flying sword drilled back into the desert and fell into the hands of the person hiding in the sand. The man put away his flying sword, closed his eyes, and once again entered a state where he stopped breathing. Gu Qing-shan finally noticed that there was a wooden door under this sword cultivator's feet. On the wooden door was a row of numbers, 238. As it turned out, this person's location was the door to the next level. This person quietly hid here, not letting anyone who wanted to pass through this place go. "This is an excellent hitman," Gu Qing-shan silently commented. "System, the person who was killed by the demonized, didn't he carry kindling?" he asked. The war god system replied, "Those who are too weak, kindling will only treat them as food." Got it, that's true. Even now, he still hasn't passed this level's test, so he's a bit weak. Gu Qing-shan's gaze didn't stay here for too long. Holding the binoculars, he scanned through the 600 floors one by one. Bone-burying swamp, forest of lost souls, lava pool, demon town, the scenes of every room were shown through the binoculars, allowing Gu Qing-shan to see them. On some floors, Gu Qing-shan saw quite a few people still struggling. After all, there were quite a few people in the 900 million world layers who answered the call of the bramble bird. Gu Qing-shan just saw a person being eaten alive by a monster. Unfortunately, that was the 97th floor, too far away for Gu Qing-shan to make it in time to save him. Gu Qing-shan couldn't help but ask, "Will the soul points of all the people who died in this skyscraper be absorbed by kindling?" "Yes, kindling will absorb the soul points of all the dead in this world," the war god system answered. "I'm in a hurry, so can I not save them?" "You can choose not to save them, but after kindling devours everyone in this 600-floor skyscraper, the chance of it evolving into origin will greatly increase." Gu Qing-shan said nothing else. Raising the binoculars, he scanned through all 600 floors, then returned to the 550th floor. The two men and one woman who were running away were in grave danger. The demons were about to break through the Silver Cross's protection. Gu Qing-shan put the binoculars down and silently sighed. If that's the case, he still has to save everyone, but he doesn't have that much time. "Why do you look so disappointed? Is my binoculars not working?" Lola asked. Gu Qing-shan shook his head and gave the binoculars back to Lola. "I just couldn't find my girlfriend. That's really bad news," Lola said sympathetically. Gu Qing-shan thought for a bit. "If I save these people trapped in this skyscraper, I'll be stuck here for a very long time. I can't ignore them either. If kindling absorbs their soul points, its chance of evolving will greatly increase." While he was hesitating, Gu Qing-shan accidentally saw the notification on the war god Yua. The current quest was still their frowny face. The first quest, Flying Bird, has been released. Gu Qing-shan was a bit surprised. A flash of inspiration came to him. At first, he thought that the 600th floor would be very complicated, and that only Flying Bird would be able to ignore everything and come and go as it pleased, so he casually came up with this quest name. But now, he really has to thank this name. He drew the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword and lightly cut a square hole in the ground. This formed a tunnel, the tunnel leading to the 600th floor. "Why aren't you going in even though the door is open?" Lola asked. "Just an experiment." Gu Qingshan stared at the hole in the ground and replied. "Your sword is quite good. A cold weapon that can easily cut through the world barrier is quite rare." Lola was intrigued. Gu Qingshan didn't answer and silently sighed in relief. If she was trapped by the Lord of Blood's soul-specific defense again like last time, it would have been quite troublesome. At the time, Gu Qingshan was pretending to be asleep, so she was perfectly caught off guard and fell for it. Since she was already caught off guard, it wouldn't be easy to break through. Fortunately, the 6 Paths Great Mountain Sword's Lawbreaker property worked this time and directly cut a hole in the 600th floor's world barrier. Just like that, Gu Qingshan's plan could be carried out. SSSS, SSSS, SSSS. The sound of hissing could be heard from the hole that Gu Qingshan just made. In the snake nest, the chaos elemental snakes became restless. "What's that sound? What's inside?" Lola asked. She couldn't help but feel a bit uneasy. "Not suitable for children," Gu Qingshan replied. "That's amazing!" Lola excitedly raised her monocular to take a look. Gu Qingshan put down the monocular. "No need to look, why? It's actually just a bunch of cute kids." Saying so, Gu Qingshan changed War God title to Ace Hitman. Title: Ace Assassin. Equipping this title grants you the skill Harvest Advanced. A harvest, advanced whenever you kill an opponent in one hit, the spirit energy used for that hit will be fully replenished. This way, you'll have an ample supply of spirit energy. Gu Qingshan tapped her inventory bag again. A set of battle armor riddled with scars flew out. A full set of UG general armor. In the past, many people had voiced their doubts. Why did they have to make the general's armor such an eye-catching color? This way, the general's safety on the battlefield would be a huge issue. At the time, 100 Flowers Fairy only replied with a single sentence to shut everyone up. "We are cultivators. Only cultivators who lead the charge are qualified to wear the general's armor." The armor abruptly scattered, each part swimming around Gu Qingshan's body like sentient fishes. This set of UG general armor consisted of a faceplate, breastplate, pauldrons, arm guards, gauntlets, belt, knee pads, combat boots, and other parts. Every part looked extremely simple, without any unnecessary decorations, except for the complex and profound runes that were etched all over. Although the armor was golden, it didn't look ostentatious on Gu Qingshan at all. Instead, it gave off a faint sense of dignity and vicissitude. Lola observed his armor and muttered, "What a beautiful set of toys, toys? That's right, this armor is too shabby, even more so compared to your sword." Lola was very picky. "I'll just make do with it." Saying so, Gu Qingshan put Lola down from his shoulder and placed her in front of his chest. He then took out a long rope and began to tie himself and Lola together. "What are you doing?" Lola was cautious. "This is to hold you in place so that we won't get separated during the intense battle." "Don't worry, I've already sworn that I'll bring you out," Gu Qingshan told him. His movements were quick and the rope quickly tied the two of them up. Gu Qingshan then quickly tied the knot and walked a few steps to test the rope's stability. "It's perfectly secured. This way there's no need to worry about Lola falling down." He nodded in satisfaction. "I feel like you're hiding something from me," Lola doubtfully asked. "What's there to hide?" Gu Qingshan laughed it off and quickly walked to the edge of the 600-story building. "I'm just going to be a flying bird." He put the silver mask on his face and finished his final preparations. Lola slowly realized something and hurriedly said, "Wait a minute, you know I'm afraid of heights. How about we Argh? Gu Qing-shan, I hate you! Following Lola's screams, Gu Qing-shan abruptly jumped out of the building. Passing through the dark clouds, they quickly descended along with the howling snowstorm. In the blink of an eye, Gu Qing-shan had already passed a few dozen floors. This way, he doesn't need to go down floor by floor, saving a lot of time. Almost immediately, lines of text appeared on the rekindling UI. This line of text quickly turned into a voice message. Please return to the roof immediately. Please return to the roof immediately. You cannot jump down from the building. You won't receive Tree's reward that way. Reward? I don't need a reward, Gu Qing-shan replied. But if you jump down like that, you won't get any soul points. Kindling continued, please take this seriously. Without soul points, you won't get anything. No soul points. Gu Qing-shan didn't answer for a while. A sword suddenly appeared in his hand. The Six Paths Great Mountain Sword. 550th floor, right here. Gu Qing-shan shouted in a low voice. The sword moved. Secret art, water flow severance. A vast sword phantom manifested and shot towards the outer wall of the skyscraper. Dong 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 dong. Following a thunderous explosion, a large hole was opened on the outer wall of the 550th floor. The snowstorm howled as it went in. Gu Qing-shan let go of the Six Paths Great Mountain Sword and drew the heavy earth sword. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Almost at the same time, several ferocious howls resounded from this floor. Following that, a heavy thud could be heard, followed by cries of joy. In just a breath's worth of time, Gu Qing-shan had once again appeared outside the skyscraper. He continued to descend. The blood on the sword scattered into the snowstorm. Gu Qing-shan held the sword in one hand, holding the trembling Lola tightly with the other. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.